Welcome back to the Rodcast. Another edition of the Rodcast, folks. Thursday edition. We like to get the weekend started a little bit early here on the Rodcast. So we're going to be in a good mood. We're going to have a great show today. We'll talk, especially Mavs fans. They're already in a good mood. Mavs stealing game one on the road against the Minnesota Timberwolves in game one of the Western Conference Finals. So we'll get into that and break that down. Also, we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. There are some five-star rankings that have been released. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. CDC getting some well-deserved recognition. We'll talk about that too coming up, and the returning offensive line snaps. We'll talk about who returns the most snaps, the most experience on the offensive line in the SEC, the Longhorns' new home. We'll talk about that coming up. We go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll also get into the latest, the NCAA now approving the antitrust settlement and agreement. So we're working our way to revenue sharing for all college athletes. We'll talk about that too coming up a little bit later on the show. Cowboys have started their OTAs. So of the Texans, we'll get into some observations from the Cowboys OTAs. We'll talk about that next segment. Also talk about Trey Lance and Zeke. Both of them have been prominent names mentioned already in a lot of the news notes and nuggets coming out of Cowboys OTAs. Texans started OTAs, so we'll dive into that. Matter of fact, in Roger Rant, we'll talk Texans, try to balance the scales, get you some Cowboys and some Texas conversation. And also coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're also going to discuss a little bit more about the NCAA moving toward paying players and how long that'll take, what the timetable may look like there. So we got a lot to get into on the show. Of course, your usual favorites. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got your topics for the big fat poll of the day with my man Patrick Davis. We got off the record. We got who said that. All your usual favorites. Before we get into any of those topics, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He is the one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure the man is underpaid. We call him the real MVP. Call him the idealionaire. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. He's my friend, co-host, and neighbor. Is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
Doing good. It's been a whirlwind week as I'm trying to get ready. We have the big birthday show party happening on Saturday out at South Austin Beer Garden. All the info's on hornfm.com. So I've been putting all that stuff together. And then I've been trying, because it's a holiday weekend, it's Memorial Day, I've been trying to get ahead on everything here at the office and everything at station. So I'm trying to work ahead. And so I have no idea what day of the week it is, because I'm already doing stuff at the end of May and it keep throwing off. And so I don't, it's very hard to keep what day it is when you're working on things for like Wednesday of next week and then Friday and you're just kind of all around. So it is throwing me off very much. And I woke up this morning and it was, it's Friday. No, wait, it's Thursday. Wait, is it Thursday? Is it okay?
Yeah. That's why you celebrate the weekend early, man, because you deserve
it. Yes. So we're trying to get it to where Friday will be less stressful. I'm trying to make it less stressful than last Friday for me.
Nothing
so I'm trying
sucks more than a stressful Friday.
Yes. Well, I can tell you that is a stressful Sunday. Also not fun, but
not fun. You're right about that. That's true.
Let me introduce you to my co-host. He is a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Appreciate the intro as always. We'll get to some other. I know Patrick's got a lot of roles and responsibilities, but one of his other roles, of course, coming with the musically themed days of the week. So we'll learn what that is coming up a little bit later on in this hour in 6:45. When we also learn about the topic for the big fat poll today, he's also going to give us the Horn headlines here momentarily. But man, the Mavs with a hell of a win, 108-105 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Didn't look how we thought it necessarily would look, Patrick, but we knew Luka and Kyrie would have to be big, and it was crazy. It was like Kyrie held the team down in the first half, and then when they needed Luka to be the closer in the fourth quarter, that's when he closed. Luka, 15 of his 33 points came in the fourth quarter. Kyrie, on the other hand, you look at what he did, and he was phenomenal, but he was the guy that basically carried them in the first half. I think he had 24 of his 30 points came in the first half, and he really didn't. I think he went scoreless, actually, in the fourth quarter. So it was when they needed, and it is fitting because Kyrie is the guy who's got more playoff experience, deep playoff runs than any of these guys on the Mavs team. And he actually said that. He brought that up too. He was like, "Yeah, there was some jitters." He said, "I could tell that there was some nerves around there. Guys hadn't been this deep in the playoffs. Some guys hadn't been here at all before." And he felt like he needed to be a tone setter. And I'm glad that he took that burden. Also, it helped, and we'll hear from Kyrie a little bit on, helped that Anthony Edwards didn't call him out, but at least Anthony Edwards had before there, I guess, some bulletin board material saying, "Hey, I'm guarding Kyrie. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to that." Kyrie felt a certain kind of way of that, and actually, he said he admired his competitive nature, saying those comments. But it definitely fired Kyrie up, and he started out, gangbusters. 24 of his 30 points came in the first half. So when Luka was off, Kyrie had his back, and when then Kyrie was off in the fourth quarter, going over, it looks like Luka was able to carry him and the rest of the team.
Yeah, and I think this was somewhat of the game plan as well, where, I know in the post game they didn't necessarily say this is what we thought. We kind of went into, we felt it out and this is the way it felt. But I think this was somewhat of the game plan to understand they're gonna blitz Luka early. They're really gonna come after Luka. This is the game thing. This is, if you watch any game film that we have had in the playoffs, this is what happens. So we're gonna focus on Luka early and we're gonna focus on Kyrie late because that's how the games have been going. And they switched it up and said, Kyrie, be super aggressive early. Go after him early, because best case scenario, you get Ant in foul trouble. He guards you and you get him in foul trouble. But even if not, if you can go out and attack early, it throws off everything they had planned, because all of their defense is planned around stopping Luka early. And so if you are killing them early, what are they going to do? Because now they have to switch to you, which is throwing off what they want to do. And then that'll lead to mismatches. That'll lead to them trying to figure it out and make adjustments on the game, on the run. And they weren't able to do it. And I think it was just a really smart idea to understand that this was a Timberwolves team that had a game plan coming in, and you probably had 2 or 3 things that you were going to try and do early to throw them off of it. And the one worked was, let's just go to Kyrie early. We know we have 2 stars for a reason. Let's go to our second star that normally is our fourth quarter guy, or third, fourth quarter guy, and just start with him and completely throw off everything that they thought, well, we're going to get in Luka's head early. Well, you're not if he doesn't have the ball. It's real hard to get in his head early if he doesn't have the ball.
No, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, it did seem that way, because they definitely felt it out, and Kyrie felt like he had more opportunity early on, and then late, Luka was just able to close things out in that fourth quarter, and he was clutch offensively and defensively. That's the thing about it. That's what I love about Luka in the fourth. I think he had 3 steals in the fourth. Had that clutch steal later on, and we'll get into some more detail about how the game actually closed out, but. There's no doubt Luka, and we talked about it, he's got to, and maybe not for the entire game, but there's got to be stretches where he's the best player on the planet. Where he's the best player, not only in the series, but the best player left in the playoffs, best player on the planet. And he looked like that at times in that fourth quarter. And like you said, it was efficient in that stretch, not the entire game, but like you pointed out, maybe that was maybe that was deliberate. Maybe that's intentional. Yeah. That was the game plan, and it worked brilliantly. I gotta tell you, because when a team misses, they were 6 of 25 from 3. This is a team that relies heavily on the 3-point shot.
Yes,
it was 6 of 25 from 3-point range.
They were awful.
Usually that kind of number for a team that rely. What they shot the 3rd most 3-pointers in the league during the regular season.
And now, granted, they at least they didn't do what Minnesota did and shoot 49 threes.
Now because for a team that kind of size, that's absurd. That's absurd. That's absurd. You got that kind of size advantage. What the hell are you doing shooting 49 threes?
49 threes. And that's crazy. It's given what they, taking what they give you. And for the Mavs, they were playing good defense. They were playing perimeter defense, and they were really trying to stop the Mavs from getting those open threes by allowing Rudy Gobert to be your only rim protector and playing guys up sometimes, and then trusting Rudy Gobert to come out. And you cannot do that against a team that's so good at throwing the lobs to the big men. You played right into their hands in that, and I get you want to take away the 3, but if you say we're going to take away the 3 by giving them dunks, that's a bad game plan. And it felt like that was kind of, Rudy will stop him. And I get he's defensive player of the year, but no one can stop you if you have one of the best players on the planet coming at you, coming downhill on you, and then a big man who is his main job in the offense is to cut behind you and go to the basket. That's his main job. That's what he does. He's not a three-point shooter. He's not a jump shooter. He's not a post-up player. He cuts the basket and dunks it when you come off him. And you kept doing it the entire game. I don't know why Minnesota kept doing it. It felt like there was too many things that the Mavs did that they thought would go one way and it went another, that they just couldn't make adjustments fast enough in game. I think game 2, they're definitely going to change up some of the things, show different looks a lot more, because, I mean, you kept watching it and thinking, well, they're going to stop this eventually. Like, they're going to make them make threes. They've shot threes horribly all game. You're going to make them make threes. You're going to give them threes at this point.
Until
and if they get hot, fine, but they're
yeah.
dunking on you over and over. The points in the paint, they're dominating the points in the paint. So if you want to say that you're just going to allow a team to just come after you and dunk on you over and over again when you have the defensive player of the year and you have another 7-footer in your lineup, and then you have the 6th man of the year who's a big man, and you are allowing everyone to dominate you in points in the paint and you're shooting threes, it's one of those things that if everything goes perfectly, then it works. But you have to hope that everything goes perfectly, and it just wasn't a good game plan for the Timberwolves and a really good game plan for the Mavs. And, so they dominated points in the paint. What was it, 62 to 38?
62 to 38. Yeah.
That's not 62 points in the paint for a team with 2 7-footers in the starting lineup, the defensive player of the year, and a 6th man of the year who is also a big man. And they allowed 62 points in the paint.
Yeah,
that's not acceptable.
It is, and it's reflected. No, it's a great point. And it's also reflected, like you said, they didn't seem to want to use their size advantage offensively or defensively. Like you said, the 49 3-pointers, that's absurd for a team with that kind of size advantage that the Minnesota Timberwolves have, and that also is a size advantage that should keep them from allowing the team to get 62 points in the paint. And like you said, dunks in the paint. A lot of it, you're gonna look at Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. I mean, they combined for 20 rebounds. 8 were offensive rebounds. Just those two guys combined for 20 rebounds. 8 of those were offensive. They went 8 of 14 from the field. They were a big part of it because you're right. It's amazing that the skill and the size for Minnesota is not a huge advantage for them in this matchup, but it wasn't in game 1. I'll just say it wasn't in game. It
wasn't, and
offensively or
again, you look at that Clippers series and you see how Zubac just went inside and posted him up, and we didn't do anything special. He just beat him up inside because they're not great post defenders.
And they're missing Maxey too. It's just, I'm with you. It doesn't make sense.
And then you say, well, if we throw the ball, maybe we'll throw the ball back. If we do that, then we'll shoot threes. You have Jaden McDaniels who's shooting lights out, so you're fine shooting threes. If they double down on one of your big men. But like Naz Reid comes in off the bench. I talked about what the X factor he could have been because I thought he could post up some. He shoots 6 threes of his 9 shots. 9 out of 9 shots, 6 were threes. Go inside. Use your size. Bump with these guys. Make them tire them out so they can't dunk over and over again. Get them in foul trouble. You have Karl Anthony Towns who posted up more in other games than he did tonight. He posted up against teams that were bigger than against his team. It was everything about it felt like the Timberwolves trying to beat the Mavs at the Mavs game. And you're the higher seed. You're at home. You just beat the defending champs. You should be trying to beat them with your game. And it did not feel like they were trying to do that at all. It's still a close game because, because the 3-point shooting was so terrible for the Mavs. If they shot the threes well, this would have been a 15-point win. But it was still a close game. It still came down to it. So if you're the Timberwolves, you can look at it and say, we weren't out and we just played a really bad game plan. But at the same point, to say you held a team that relies on the 3 to 6 of 25 from 3-point land and you still lost.
You lost it, yeah.
Then you have to completely rethink.
At home.
Yeah, at home. You have to completely rethink what you're doing. And as much as we're going on they played a grueling game 7, it's a shame. They're just so tired. It was one more day.
I know. I keep people saying that, but like it was a Saturday for the Mavs and then Sunday for them, right?
Yeah. It's one more day.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
It's
don't
not.
understand that.
It wasn't this huge. It wasn't like the
Yeah.
Celtics and the Pacers, where the Pacers had like 2 days off,
2 days,
and they
3
had
days,
6 days off. So it was,
Yeah.
that one's, an extra day. And by the way, Boston had no rust in that one, but that was the rest thing I get. Yes, they are tired, but they were also tired because they kept trying to play really good perimeter defense, which is really tiring. And then the Mavs would drive on them. They'd put them through screens. They would pick up speed, and the Mavs would run downhill. And, I mean, Rod, you know this as well as anyone playing DB. It's way more tiring to run backwards than forwards.
Yes, it is, brother. Yep.
So if you're constantly on your heels because, you come off a screen and then they immediately come right at you, and then you turn around to seeing a guy dunk, and then they come back and get back on D, and you're coming back slow, it's you just can't play that. And you also can't expect Jaden McDaniels to carry you if you're the Timberwolves. That can't be your leading scorer.
Well, you can tell they basically, and it's just a smart game plan, the way they played, and they're just basically daring, hey, Jaden Daniels, you got Jaden McDaniels, you got to beat us, right? And he went 19 points in the first half, damn near, but he only had 5 points in the second half.
Yes.
So they definitely made some adjustments. But yeah, I mean, you're right about that. That's how close the game was. I think both teams got to feel pretty good going into game 2. Because like you said, if you're Minnesota, we're still there. Look at how many points we gave up in the paint. Look at how many we kind of shot ourselves out of the game by shooting 49 3-pointers, and we still only lost by 3 points. Now you're at home, but I mean, and Anthony Edwards had a bad game. I mean, for a second game in a row, right? He was off. Now it was great defensive effort by the Mavs. What is he? 6 of 16, 19 points. So that is something that they probably, that won't be something that you get usually from Anthony Edwards. I know he's had 2 back-to-back games, or at least off games. I'll say bad games, off games. But you're going to get more from him. You're going to get more from Cat too. Cat had 16 points. I believe he was 6 of 20. Your 2 stars were pretty much held in check. Your stars were held in check, and you still only lost by 3 points.
Yeah, it was 2 of 9 from 3, and one of those was like a prayer from 7 feet behind the 3-point line. I mean, they were shooting threes that they didn't need to be shooting. Anthony Edwards, though, he's going to have to figure out where his defensive assignment is, because picking Kyrie, you could tell he was not ready for how much he was going to run with Kyrie. And
Kyrie said that too. Kyrie said that. He was like, I know their legs going to be spent, so he ran him.
Oh, yeah, and he knew early, just go at him early. He wants to guard me, fine. I will run at him all game, and I'll just run around. And worst case scenario, I'll play defense by playing offense. I'll play defense by just tiring him out and taking his legs away from him. Now, he still hit that reserve because he's a great player, and great players hit that reserve in the fourth quarter at the end of the game, and he had some big shots. Anthony Edwards did. But at the same 19 points, you're happy with that. At the end of the day, you're happy with 19 points from Anthony Edwards.
It's guy's first team all NBA. I'll take that all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
You say Jaden McDaniels is not going to beat us for 4 games out of this series. We know that. So, and now he has to do it 5 games. So we know he's going to revert to the mean. He's never had 2 20-point games back to back. He's down at 3 in a row. You figure. I was going to say, we keep jamming him, but Jaden McDaniels. No, and I think he's still going to play
and
well.
He's doing more than his role. Like he is.
Oh yeah, because he's a defensive. Yeah. He's an all team first team defender or all second team defender. First or second team, I can't remember. I think second team.
Second team, yeah.
But he's all second team because Herb Jones was the only non-center in that first team. So he's all second team defense. He's a really, really good player. But I don't think he's going to shoot 6 of 9 from 3 and just not miss threes in the first half. That's something that's just not attainable by pretty much anybody. Yeah. So it's not a shot at him. That's a shot at every single basketball player who's ever played. It's not likely to continue to shoot at that high of a clip for 3.
Yeah, no matter how much of a 3-and-D guy you consider yourself to be, like that's crazy. And he's, like I said, he's been really, really good for them. But that 19 points in the first half, only 5 for him in the second half. So we'll get back to breaking this down. So I want to hear from Kyrie. Kyrie was asked about the Anthony Edwards bulletin board material. We'll hear from him. We'll hear from Luka on the other side as well. But first, let's get updated. Let's get informed. Let's get educated with all the top stories of the day, including the Mavs' big win, stealing home court advantage in Game 1. Let's get into it with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball struggles in MLB parks continued as they dropped their second game of the Big 12 tournament, 8-7 to Cincinnati, and were eliminated. Texas will now wait until Monday to see where they will end up in the regional round, with most projections having Texas as a 2 seed. In the NBA, the Mavericks stole home court advantage with a 108-105 win over the Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Kyrie Irving led the way early and finished with 30 points, and Luka Doncic came on in the second half to have 33 in the game. Game 2 will be on Friday. Tonight, the Pacers will try to even their Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics after losing a close one on Tuesday. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros lost the last game of their homestand to the Angels 2-1. They finished a 10-game run 7-3, and now have a day off before heading to Oakland. The Rangers dropped their second game of the series to the Phillies, won 11-4, and will try and salvage the series with a quick turnaround, playing a day game with pregame starting at 11:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We'll hear from Kyrie. He sat down with the Inside the NBA guys after the game, and they asked him about the bulletin board material for Anthony Edwards and how it motivated him. We'll hear from him in just a second. But, the Mavs defensively, their two superstars have shown up for him. I mean, Luka ended up with 3 steals in the fourth quarter of that game. Now, he was the best player for them, best player on the floor in the fourth quarter. 15 of his 33 points came in the fourth quarter. When Kyrie went scoreless, and he had 3 steals in the fourth, and none of them more important than the one he had. There was like 66 seconds left in the game. They got a 2-point lead. There's a attempted lob pass that he gets the steal on with the Mavs up 2. That was clutch by him defensively on the defensive end. So, and Luka's not known for his defense, and I'm not saying that he's a great defensive player by any stretch, but he's a great player. Great players find a way to make plays in clutch moments, and he was clutch. I mean, you go look, the Mavs were actually down with like 3.5 minutes left, I believe. It's 102-98. Anthony Edwards hits that 3-pointer that put him up 102-98. It's like 3.5 minutes left. And I thought to myself, man, all right, Mavs, they've been playing okay, but it looks like, the Minnesota Timberwolves may be taking control of this thing in clutch time. Then the Mavs go on an 8-0 run, basically for like a 2.5 minute stretch late in that game, and really take control of it. And Luka was a big part of it, offensively and defensively. You said it yesterday. Luka's got to be efficient, and he wasn't efficient the entire game. But man, his fourth quarter was, and they kept it close enough for Luka to go out there and close it out. But his fourth quarter was the stuff of legend. I mean, it was elite. And that's what, and because of Kyrie holding him down in the first half, they allowed Luka to really kind of find his groove. And like you said, it's probably intentional or deliberate and game plan, because they knew they were going to try to game plan to take Luka out early. And Luka hit him late is what happened.
Yeah, and I think that there's something, and Lucas talked about it a little bit, about playing with Kyrie now. And, Kyrie's kind of taking and teaching him some of these pieces about how to be a champion superstar, and pieces that maybe Luka, knew how to be a star, but he didn't understand this is what it takes to be a leader and a champion in the playoffs. And one of those pieces is, I don't need you to be a star defender 4 quarters. That's not what most players, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, those guys weren't doing it for 4 quarters. What they will do is when it gets to the second half and when it gets to coming down to the fourth quarter, you need to pick it up, and your intensity needs to be the same on both ends. And you need to be able to shut guys down, because every possession matters so much at the end of that game. And his defense picked up, and that's what you say. He got those steals late. He was able to be in the right places. And you don't need to be – we understand you're not going to be the most fleet of foot guy who's going to be in front and be a defensive stopper, but you can play smart basketball. You can be really conscious about where the lanes are, and, how much of basketball is being conscious of where the ball is when you don't have to be. And if you want to be a great player, it's constantly being involved in the game instead of taking 2 minutes to put your hands on your knees because the ball's on the other side of the court. And I think that's kind of where we saw him in the fourth quarter here, was him just trying to be more a part of the defense in the fourth quarter. And because he's a great player, he will naturally be better at it, because he just has really good body control. He has a great basketball IQ. So he can understand, okay, if I'm playing passing lanes and I see where the ball's going, I know 50 to 80% odds of where the ball's going next, and I just have to move 2 steps forward, and I can go pick that ball up. We saw the end of the game, the pass in, that was a super risky pass that came in to Derek Jones from where they didn't advance it. They threw it, the long pass down. Jones gets it, and Mike Conley almost picks it. That's Mike Conley being a veteran and understanding where it's going and seeing the eyes and immediately making a move going, crap, I think I know where this ball is going, and making a beeline for it, and he's just a hair late. But at the same part, you have that. If you have that ability and you have that court vision and you have the IQ, you can play good enough defense in the fourth quarter if you want to. And I think Kyrie's influence has kind of helped Luka start to get there a little bit more of, this is the playoffs. There is, realistically, we need 7 more wins and you will go down and you enter into a different level of an athlete and a different level of player because you are now a champion and you're the best player on a championship team. It's a different level of player. So if you want to get to that, if this is the goal, you're 7 wins away. Why would you not put that little bit more effort in? Are you really going to tell me, no, my legs are going to go out? There's 7 more games, man. I get, and that's, you don't have to play. They used him to blitz off on other guys to come over and go after Anthony Edwards, left Jaden McDaniels open. They were fine with that. It's part of the game plan. We don't need you to necessarily sit on Jaden McDaniels and be super, elite defender on Jaden McDaniels. If he beats us, he beats us.
We charge that to the game. Yeah.
But we need you to just be involved in it. And then on the other end, it gets you excited about that. Like, it just keeps you in the game because you're not mentally checking out and then checking back in. You're not constantly flipping a switch on and off, and you're getting stops. And stops are, how exciting is it?
Yeah.
How exciting. Oh, we get another fire alarm. This is every week.
No. Don't worry, we're close to the break.
It's every week. But you are trying to get the ball and trying to get down court, and it just makes you that much more excited to play both ends when you get a stop.
I love that point about not flipping the switch with guys, offensively and defensively, both ends of the floor. And even Kyrie said it, and we'll hear from Kyrie later on. But he said it was the first time for some guys. There were some nerves. I had been here before. There was a little bit more poise in my hands. And he said he felt a responsibility to go out there and set the tone because of that. And that's exactly what he did. And also, I'll throw this little stat out there. And we know that there's some bulletin board material from Kyrie, and you just talked about Kyrie, just the effort and intensity on defense, using your basketball IQ, even if you got old legs. How about this? Timberwolves players shot 3 of 11, 27% when defended by Kyrie in game 1. So Kyrie, he may not be known for being a great defender, but he's known for being a skilled player, high basketball IQ. As Patrick just said, that basketball IQ can really help you at times in stretches, critical moments, can help you be a guy that can make great defensive plays, even if you're not a great defensive player, which is what we saw from Luka last night. We saw that from Kyrie. We've been seeing Kyrie's defense actually in these playoffs. He's playing some of his best defensive ball that he's played, period. I don't know if it's because he's just a veteran and now he knows he can contribute in other ways and he can turn it on when he wants to offensively. But he's been playing some really intense defense. Give it up for Jason Kidd. Maybe that's the Jason Kidd influence on Kyrie. All right, we come back. My man Patrick's, hopefully the fire alarm is gone by the time he comes back. They're testing it every week. I want to say, but the last 2 weeks, you've gotten at least one.
Yeah, we had 2 last week. We had 1 this week. I think it's because they're doing construction on an office up here, and I think they're testing in that office to make. I think that's what it is. But it is it's officially annoying.
Yeah, it is officially annoying. All right, so we're just going to break, man, since we're up against it, and maybe that's a hint, a clue. The fire alarm's like, hey, get the break. So we'll get to break. We'll come back. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk some Texas football. CDC getting a lot of love and getting some recognition as well deserved. We'll also talk about returning offensive line experience. Where do the Longhorns stand among the most experienced offensive lines in the SEC? I think you're going to like what you're going to hear. We'll also get into 5 stars. 247 has released their list of the 2025 5-star college football prospects coming out, and we'll talk about how many are from Texas, where they're from, and we'll talk about how many are interested in the University of Texas. All of that and more when we return right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about Callahan's General Store because a lot of you out there are trying to make sure that your yard is looking in the best condition possible. You want to make sure it's in that golf course condition. You want to try your best to make sure that your lawn and your yard are in top-notch shape. And the best way to do that is to head on over to Callahan's General Store. Not only do they have all the resources and supplies you need to make sure that your yard's in the best possible condition, but also they have the know-how, the expertise. They have all the knowledge that you need. You let them know exactly what you're trying to achieve, what your problems are. Is it too many weeds in your yard? I got too many brown patches in my yard. Right now, the grass won't grow in your yard. Whatever it may be, they can help you solve those problems. Maybe you're trying to get a garden bed situated around your yard or in front of your house, wherever it may be. They can help you out with that too. They have plenty of seedling vegetables around there at Callahan's General Store, a great variety of them for you to enjoy and for you to plant. So if you've got that green thumb, my friends at Callahan's can help you out there. But hey, if you just need to help with your yard and your lawn, they have, like I said, all the expertise you need and all the resources you need. They got the pre-emergence. They got the weed and feed there. They got the Bermuda seeds so you can put down and fill in those brown patches. They got the fertilizer. They got the amendments. They got the soil. They got it all there at the Callahan's General Store. It's a one-stop shop for you folks. No other place you need to go. Even got trees there, fruit trees, pecan trees that you can plant around your property. So head on over to Callahan's General Store, 501 Bastrop Highway. You know exactly where it is, between downtown and the airport. Remember, every day is a great day to make it a Callahan's Day. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Want to get into some Texas football conversation here and go behind the burnt orange curtain. A couple of topics that I want to hit here, which we'll do. First of all, I want to give props to CDC. Chris Del Conte, he received an award from the Sports Business Journal. Athletic Director of the Year is the award that he received, and Longhorn fans would all agree, well deserved, because CDC does an amazing job in Texas. This I believe this calendar year, their last season of sports in the Big 12, 15 Big 12 titles out of 21 varsity sports, which is a Big 12 record, so it's conference record, and I believe it's a record at Texas as well, so it's Texas record and a Big 12 record. And now, man, I want to say in terms of players of the year that Texas has, in terms of all of their sports, who are players of the year in their respective sports, I believe they're up to like 7 or 8. I got to go look at that too in terms of best players overall in their sports. I mean, Texas is, like I said, they're getting a lot of recognition, well deserved. So happy for CDC and congratulations to CDC on that award. All right, let's get to these 5 stars here. There's some 5-star rankings out by 247, and 247. The way they do their 5-star rankings is they essentially are defining their 5 stars. The guy who's going to play on Sundays in the NFL. From what I've been told, they're like, this guy's going to play in the NFL. Done. All right, that's just, he's got an NFL. Even as a high school kid, you can say, okay, the guy's going to play in the NFL. That's why they only have 32 of them. I think, from what I've been told, the reason they have 32 is for the 32 NFL teams, and that's how few prospects there are with a 5-star ceiling, based on what they've done. That's kind of where they drop it off. I think some other platforms, and they may do more than that, but from what I know from 247, they literally have 32 for 32 NFL teams. Boom, 32 5-star recruits,
32 first-round picks. There you go. Nice.
Basically, that kind of, it's kind of how they go. Like, basically, these are our first rounders from the high school level. We believe that they can play at the NFL level. Yes. So now, but some of these guys are already committed. Ohio State's got 3 of these guys committed. USC's got 3 of them committed, and then Georgia, Florida State, A&M, Auburn, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU each have 1 committed, and the rest of them are uncommitted. Now, for Longhorn fans, they're excited because 3 of these guys, 3 wide receivers actually. There are 3 Texas wide receivers that are ranked as 5 stars. DeCorian Moore is one of these guys. There's also Khalil Lockett. It's another 5-star receiver on this list as well. And I believe it's Jamie French is the other. Now, he's from Florida. He's not from Texas. The other 2 guys are from the state of Texas. But, from a lot of the insiders, the recruiting insiders and recruiting analysts out there, they believe that Texas is not only in the hunt, but they could potentially be favorites to get 2 of those 3 5-star receivers in this 2025 class, which is crazy. I mean, last time Texas had multiple 5-star receivers in a class, I mean, I got to go back and look, but I want to say it might have been when I was on campus with Roy Williams, B.J. Johnson, and Sloan Thomas. If I'm not mistaken, all 3 of them were 5-star receivers coming in. I know B.J. and Roy were. I believe Sloan was, but Sloan could have been, I don't know, high 4-star, something like that. It's been a while, and that was before like modern recruiting. You know what I mean? So now I don't even know if you can go back and find like the actual blue chip status of all of those guys, but. Here's Mike Roach was on with 247 Sports. Mike Roach does a really good job, recruiting analyst, and he was talking about DeCorian Moore. A lot of people believe that DeCorian Moore, the 5-star receiver for that obviously in the state of Texas, that the University of Texas may be one of the front runners to get DeCorian Moore. Here is, and by the way, Ohio State. I believe is also a front runner for him, and that makes perfect sense because Ohio State can be considered wide receiver U. But here is Mike Roach talking about DeCorian Moore and the mutual interest in DeCorian Moore from Texas side, and also from DeCorian Moore to Texas.
Mike, I do want to ask you about the in-state Longhorns. They have a lot of the buzz right now. What do you make of Texas and their chances to reel him in?
Each of these 3 schools have kind of had their moment in the sun. When I talked to somebody near DeCorian in the early spring, it was like, hey, this is Oregon's race to lose at this point. And, mid-spring, it was Ohio State. This is kind of Texas's time. They've hosted him a couple of times on unofficial visits lately. He has a lot of family in the Austin area. His mother's originally from Austin. And a lot of teammates down there. Colin Simmons, the 5-star from Duncanville, who just signed last year among them, a lot of friends. And I think Steve Sarkisian's shown, especially with the development they had this year with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, 3 receivers drafted. That offense is lethal when it comes to throwing the ball. Also, I think shown he can fit, he can develop, and he can stay at home and do it. That's always their strongest pitch is, to stay home and to be able to do it in state. And I think if you're looking at the long-term play, their best pitch they can make is what benefits do you have after football as a graduate in Texas if you want to live in Texas? I think that they have a strong network of graduates and among the state. And so I think that that's a big pitch they're going to be able to make as well.
All right. There's a Michael Rhodes saying Texas can make a really good pitch. So can Ohio State. I think Oregon's also in that recruitment. We don't talk a lot of recruiting, but I think it is pretty impressive that Texas could get multiple 5-star receivers. It's hard to get, first of all, hard to get a 5-star because there are only a few of them, like 30 to 40 of these 5-star recruits all across the country. So hard enough to get one, let alone multiple ones in the same class, and then hard enough to get multiple ones in the same class at the same position. That's almost impossible to do. So if Texas does that, it does show you, first of all, I think it shows you the NIL power of Texas, but also shows you the power of the brand and how attractive that Steve Sarkisian offense is. Okay, so there are 32 of these 5-star recruits in the 2025 class by 247 Sports. And 7 of them, if I counted correctly, 7 of them are from the great state of Texas. And I believe of that 7, 4 of the 7 are from the DFW area. And remember, I've talked to you guys about how DFW is probably the most fertile recruiting metro area in the country outside of Atlanta. Atlanta basically at this point is producing around 15, just the Atlanta metro area is producing around 15 draftable prospects a year. Just that metro area. DFW ain't far behind. It's a little under 12 in the DFW area. And that makes sense. So 4 of those 7 5-stars that are from the state of Texas are from that DFW area. No surprise there. But I just talked about Atlanta being the most fertile metro area in the country. Georgia, and I haven't looked at how many of these guys are from the Atlanta metro area. I'll do that in one of these breaks. But Georgia has 5, 6. State of Georgia also has 7 guys on the list. There you go. And I guarantee, I haven't done the math on it. I put money on it, more than half are from the Atlanta area. Put money on it. Just like more than half from the state of Texas are from DFW. I'm from H-Town. And I remember when H-Town was producing more NFL talent than DFW, but DFW has experienced more population booms and more, recent, migration to this that DFW area than Houston has. And guys, that's usually one of the ways. Look at Central Texas. Right, look at the boom of Central Texas and look how many now really good football programs and how many great athletes are being produced here in Central Texas. That was not the case when I went to the University of Texas. The reason that you have that boom is just because the population booms and all the migration patterns. If you follow migration patterns and population booms in this country, it's not totally accurate, but it's a really good way, predictive pattern to try to be able to prognosticate and project where the next fertile recruiting grounds are going to be in football. And Phoenix has been like that. The Phoenix area is like that. DFW, I think, is a prime example of that. The Carolinas are a prime example of that. That Charlotte area is blowing up. And a lot of that is because of the population boom. So you're starting to see that. And Atlanta, there's that Georgia area. There's been a lot of, population booms there as well in the Atlanta area. All right. Let's talk about, and we'll get back to that because I promise I'll give you the information on how many of those 7 5-stars from Georgia are actually from the Atlanta area. Just to give it to you, and I said this before, Georgia's overtaken California as one of the top 3 most fertile states for recruiting. It used to be Texas, California, and Florida. It is now Georgia, Texas, and Florida. Those are the big 3. California is 4th. And has been that for like the last 4 or 5 years. Cali is not producing the amount of players that the state of Georgia is, state of Texas, and the state of Florida. And a lot of it is, we talk about migration patterns and population booms. What's happening in California? People will be leaving California. You've been leaving the West Coast. We know that in Texas. A lot of them coming to Texas. All right. And that affects your, the fertility, if you will, of your recruiting grounds in your state. So I think that's kind of what's happening in California, but they're still firmly. I mean, LA, the metro area of LA, if you go look at it, is still 3rd in the most fertile metro areas in the country. It's Atlanta, it's DFW, it's LA, then it's Then it's Houston, actually. Texas got 2 of them. Then it's Houston. And then I'll throw out, then it actually recently, crazy enough a bit, that Baltimore area up north on the East Coast been ridiculously fertile recently in terms of producing NFL draftable prospects. Okay, let's move on to the returning offensive line experience, because I thought it made me feel good as a Longhorn fan. Well, we know the Longhorn offensive line is projected to be one of the best in the country. It should be a top 5 offensive line, should compete for the Joe Moore Award, which is given to the top offensive line in the country. So SEC Mike and over on that platform, they do a really good job. They calculated the number of returning snaps, percentage of returning snaps for offensive linemen in the SEC for the 2024 season. And number 1, the Longhorns, returning the most experience on the O-line in all the SEC. 83% of Texas's O-line will return for, or at least the O-line snaps will return for the 2024 season. Losing Christian Jones obviously hurts, but everybody else returns for Texas. Kentucky is second, and this is why we're talking about this, Patrick. This is why that game freaks me out a little bit. Been talking about this. Mm-hmm. That Kentucky game freaks me out a little bit. Kentucky, they won. Now they don't have Liam Cohen there, who was the Sean McVay disciple, and he was a big part of why that running game was so successful. They still want to run the rock.
Yeah, and they don't have Ray Davis, who went to the NFL.
Yes, so they're exactly. So they're going to be missing pieces, but their mentality is they want to run the football. They want to play power football, and they have the offensive line actually that might be able to do it because they have the second most experienced offensive line in the SEC, or at least the second most returning snaps for the offensive line in the SEC. Now, you're right. They lost one of their play callers. They lost the play caller, and they also lost you'll look at it, they lost their running back, so their main bell cow running back. Like I said, the mentality is they want to run a rock, and they got the O-line potentially to do it. And if Texas has a weakness, it's going to be their interior D-line, the guts of their defense. Will you be able to run downhill on Texas in power gap schemes? You can't do that unless you got the O-line. Kentucky's one of the few teams that'll have the O-line potentially to do it. Will they have the rest of the pieces to do it? I don't know, but they'll have the O-line. And if Texas is weak there, Texas got all the D tackles they brought in. Right? They brought in 3 of them. Only one really plays the A-gap. Only one plays the nose. That's Bill Norton. The rest of them play pretty much 3 technique. They could do it if they needed to, but that's not their expertise. Only one's expertise is the nose, and that's Bill Norton. That's it. So he's your one guy that's supposed to be kind of your rock of Gibraltar in the middle. If there's an injury, knock on wood, or if he's just not up to snuff, that could be a problem for you. That means teams can run downhill on you, play ball control, keep away from Sark's offense, so you don't have to worry about how prolific the offense is. You ain't got to worry about the receivers. You ain't got to worry about the Texas great offensive line. You ain't got to worry about Quinn. You ain't got to worry about none of that if the offense is on the sideline watching, which is what they were doing versus Washington. So that concerns me a little bit because Kentucky, they may have the O-line to do it. LSU, they returned 75% of their offensive line. They may have the second or the best tackle in college football behind or right in front of Kelvin Banks. Georgia returned 74% of their O-line, and Georgia also another team that can run downhill on you if necessary. And A&M returned 66% of their O-line experience. So it's the 5th most in the SEC. So the teams that you got to play 3 of the top 5 most experienced offensive lines in the SEC next season. Yeah, exactly. And your D-line is inexperienced. We love the edges, but they're not that experienced. I mean, I guess Trey Moore, but it's a new system for Trey Moore coming in. He played a lot of football at UTSA. Ethan Berg just became a starter for you. Barron Sorrell has a lot of experience. But Colin Simmons is relatively young coming off that edge. Colton Vosick going to be relatively young coming off that edge. Your interior D line, you got experience. So I will say that you got experience in the interior D line, but these guys haven't played together much. Bill Norton and Tia Savea have played together, but in terms of the entire D line. So you're going to get up against some really experienced offensive lines in SEC play, but Texas has the most experienced offensive line, and that should be a huge advantage for them in a line of scrimmage league like the SEC. All right, we come back. We'll get into the big fat poll of the day. We'll also learn what the musically themed day of the week is. All of that and more when we return right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Thursday morning, and that means it's a new theme Thursday where I will pick a new theme each week to pick music for and play it throughout the show. The theme of the week this week is 1984. Since I'm having my birthday party on Saturday, turning 40 on Saturday. I went for my birth year and looked at some of the music, and it is one of a prolific year of music that came out. So just hit after hit after hit. It was extremely hard to pare it down and pick what songs we're gonna be on here. So it's there's going to be tons that I don't even get to because there's just not enough time in the show to get to all of them. But 1984, a huge year in music. So we're gonna play music from 1984 all show long. Start off with some Huey Lewis there, starting us off. Let's get to the big fat poll today. Text line's open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the horn.
All right, big fat poll of the day today. I was watching the game last night and thinking about how we had given a lot of grief to Jason Kidd. And then that he had done a really good job preparing for this series, which, again, you can say the amount of time you have to prep for the series. They did not know who they were going to be playing, Denver or Minnesota, until the same time Denver and Minnesota knew they were playing the Mavs. So there was roughly the same amount of time. Now, Dallas did not have to travel and, get over a game. But the same part is, they did not necessarily have a ton of time. They had a really good game plan going into it. On the flip side of that, I felt that the Timberwolves did not have a good game plan. They were not able to make a good plan. They I guess figured they knew what they wanted to do and wanted to keep them off the 3-point line, but just allowing them to not realizing that Dallas loves to throw those lobs up and throw the ball down to the big man to get them dunked. I don't know.
They not know.
We all knew. Everyone knows that.
They would do it.
And then you hear in the post game too, Anthony Edwards says something to the effect of, "Oh, well, we didn't really know," and you're like, "How'd you not know?" Like I get that you only had you had a quick turnaround, but also, why are you not watching film on this? Like, did you not know that this is what they were going to do? Because they've done it all season, so you should have known. You should have all been very aware this was going to happen.
Ready for it.
So that was there. And then I look on the other side, and you look on the Eastern Conference, and the coaches there. Joe Mazzulla, has gotten criticism as maybe somebody that was not expected to be hired. 35 years old. One of the youngest coaches in the NBA, was brought in because Ime was let go. But really a quick path to being a head coach in the NBA. Yeah. And then Rick Carlisle, who actually won a title with Jason Kidd as his point guard with the Mavs, has been in the NBA as a head coach since I believe around 2001. So has a long history. Before very different coaches, Jason Kidd came off of being a player, is on his third team, but basically came straight into being a head coach, never really an assistant. He did do it for the Lakers a little bit before he was with the Mavs. Chris Finch, long path to even get to the NBA, and then a long path to become a head coach. But it leads to the question, who is the best coach left in the NBA playoffs? Because I don't think you would have said any four of these would have been one of your top coach picks. Chris Finch was up there because of what he could do with Minnesota during the season. So maybe it's Chris Finch, and we know he blew his knee out in the Phoenix series, so he's sitting behind the bench. So it's a little bit different for him right now, trying to coach in game. But
good.
Jason Kidd now has gotten his contract extension because they did not want him to go to the Lakers. He showed well. He's got the team playing defense right now. I think the addition of Kyrie and the fact that Kyrie is a Jason Kidd fan has helped Jason Kidd a lot implement some of the things he wanted to implement, because it has allowed he basically has a big supporter and a mentor in Kyrie Irving. Joe Mazzulla is somebody that, he did have the best record in the regular season, but is that the coaching? Is that the player? And Rick Carlisle, we know, is an NBA champion, but I don't know how many times he's been listed as the best coach in the NBA in his 20-something years of being a head coach. He's always been a really good coach, but is he the best coach left?
You say, the best coach left. He might be the best coach left.
And that's the thing is, do you think
make that argument?
Is Rick Carlisle the best coach left? Is Jason Kidd coaching the Mavs? Is he now become the best coach left because he's won his game? Do you think it's Chris Finch, that what he's done, and you just say, look, they're going to make an adjustment, which we all believe that the Timberwolves are going to make adjustments after game one and come back, and this is not going to be a sweep series. No one believes that it's over because the game has one. So we know Chris Finch will make adjustments now. Apparently, they do know now that the Mavs like to dunk the basketball and the big men like to do that. But it's so we'll see what Chris Finch does. But maybe you think it's Chris Finch that he has had a really good season putting together this Minnesota team. And then Joe Mazzulla, I don't know if anybody would vote for Joe, but they did have the best regular season record. So maybe you think Joe is a very good coach, Joe Mazzulla. But I'd like to know who you think is the best coach left, because when I was looking at all of them, there is not a clear answer.
No, I agree with that. Not a clear-cut answer. Most people would the argument against Joe Mazzulla would be the Boston Celtics have done this with multiple coaches. That's the argument against him.
Well, yeah, and they've underperformed multiple times in this playoff so far, where they should have swept everybody. And if there was a really great coach, they would have steamrolled everybody.
Yeah. It'll be like, no, anybody could have went there and did that with the Celtics. So that'll be the argument against him. The argument against, honestly, Jason Kidd is pretty much that he has yet to prove it that he's a great coach. We don't really have this. This is it.
I mean, he beat the number one seed, knocked off the number one seed in 6. He's now got a 1-0 series lead in the Western Conference Finals.
This is the best case. This season is the best case for him. Or at least he's postseason so far.
Yes.
So that's obviously, that's not a lot of sample size to go on.
No.
Rick Carlisle, you're right. It's just, Rick, nobody has ever really put him.
No, because he's always been a good coach.
Stratosphere.
He's always been a good coach. But you say, well, this Indiana team, they'd be nothing without him. And it wasn't just, when they shoot really well, they play well. And I mean, you also can say that he took on after that loss. He said that's 100% on me. The not taking the ball at half court where he could have advanced the ball. And they didn't advance it at that point. The timeout usage, everything at the end of that game, how they managed the game, he said it's on him. Now, that's a good coach does that, but if you want to say he cost them a game then in the series, then does that put Rick Carlisle? But what do you guys think? Who is the best coach in the NBA? 512-447-3776. Who's the best coach left in the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, it is not an easy answer. I agree with you on that 100%. You can make the case for all four if you want to. All right, so we'll have that coming up. We'll get that posted for you. Nice conversation started there for the topic for the big fat poll today. We come back, we'll have observations from the Cowboys OTAs. We'll get into that a little bit. Also, the NCAA approving the antitrust settlement, which means we're going to have revenue sharing at the college level at one point when all of these antitrust settlements are done. Looks like the new framework is going to include revenue sharing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, Raj Rad of the day will balance out the Cowboys discussion with some Texans talk. I'll tell you what CJ Stroud can expect to see from defenses this upcoming season. So we'll dive into that, all of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. It's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, comes up with a brand new theme for a new theme Thursday. And this theme is based on his birthday celebration happening this weekend, this Saturday. Going to be at Austin Beer Garden. You can find out details about that at hornfm.com, or Patrick can just tell you right here. But that's why the theme is 1984. Year of the birthday.
Year of my birth. Yeah, 1984.
Year, I should say.
And it was when I looked into it. There's so many good songs that came out of 1984.
1984 is you're right. It's a good year. It's a good year for music. I mean, I didn't realize this was 1984. So you're saying you had a hard time narrowing this down.
Yeah, there's iconic bands and songs that did not
all-time greats. Okay.
Yes, and then there's stuff that I really like that I couldn't put on there, and there's a lot of really good stuff on there.
Okay, there you go. All right, so in 1984 is the theme for New Theme Thursday, and not the book, the year.
Yes, the actual year.
That's his birth year. I don't even know if Patrick's even read the book 1984. You see, you was born 1984, you'd have read it, and maybe it's
no, it's a book. Why would I do that to myself?
He's like, I don't give a damn about that. All right, that's the new theme. Also, you can go check out the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. That also is, thanks to my man Patrick Davis, is posted at the Horn ATX as well. And I'll let the folks know what the topic is, Patrick, for the Big Fat Poll of the day.
Big Fat Poll today. Who is the best coach left in the NBA playoffs? There's only 4 left, so it makes it easy to put it into a X poll.
Yeah.
But it was more looking at the coaches that were left, and you were like, this is not the who's who of coaching that you normally get some stalwarts, but it is part of that when you talk about the new group of people coming in, the new coaches, that there's a little bit more, there's some different blood in the coaching staff as well. And I know Rick Carlisle is a former NBA champion. He's been around. Jason Kidd has been around now for a little while with Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Joe Mazzulla is clearly new. Chris Finch is pretty new. So there's a couple of really new guys, and then a couple of guys who are just not always in these conference finals and not always at this level. But you take away some of the old time stalwarts of coaching. So I don't think there's an easy answer for this one. So I'm curious what you guys think.
Not only is it not an easy answer, but you can make the argument that basically these playoffs right now will determine largely how this series goes for all these coaches, will determine a lot about their legacy and how they are perceived by the public. Jason Kidd ends up getting to the finals. I mean, he just signed his contract extension. People are going to get really high on Jason Kidd all of a sudden because he took down the number 1 seed to do it, and took down arguably, other than the Celtics, I don't even know if you can consider the Celtics hot. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are a hotter team than the Celtics. Celtics have just been dominant. I don't know if they've gotten hot. You can't say they've gotten hot. Minnesota got hot. So they took down the hottest team and the number 1 seed in the West. Chris Finch, it would be, and this thing about it, your breakdown, which was a brilliant one, very astute observations when you talked about how the construction of the Timberwolves, essentially they were constructed to basically to counter what the Nuggets were doing. And they actually, even one of their executives went to the Minnesota Timberwolves from the Nuggets.
Yes.
To help be the architect.
Yeah, he was. He came in, he helped build the Nuggets, and then ended up going to Minnesota and said, okay, I know how to reverse engineer what I just built, and I will beat the team to beat it. But I think what you're doing is, the reality is, now you have to play a completely different style of team. And
no, it's true. It's true. But my point is, Chris Finch, does he get more credit for that? Because the reason they beat Denver was because of more what you talked about. It was more because of the construction of the roster, not necessarily the game plan. They're a bad matchup for Denver. The bad matchup is because you talked about the roster construction and the way they were built.
And I think too is you could tell that Chris Finch and them had planned for Denver. They were ready for Denver. Yes. This was the matchup we wanted. Yeah. We want to knock Denver off.
It was like a Sark-Bama situation where it's like, damn, they've been planning for this for like 3-4 months.
They're ready to go. And then you come out to the next series and they go, we didn't know they like to pick and roll. And who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? We just thought they'd shoot threes. You're like, man, no, that's y'all. It's y'all who shot too many threes.
No, so my point is, like, I don't know if Chris Finch is getting enough credit for that win over the defending champions, because I'm with you. I think it's more the architecture of the team. Joe Mazzulla, we talked about how Boston's been so dominant. Then Boston has achieved under a lot of other coaches. And, this is 7 of the last 8 years we've seen Boston do some disrespect and make a deep run in the East. And then Rick Carlisle, I think it's more just reputation. But if Rick Carlisle is able to coach a team up to beat Boston, he's going to get a lot of credit for okay, you know what? Rick Carlisle's a hell of a coach. They were coached up because they're seen to be at a talent disadvantage in this series.
Yeah.
So honestly, that's why it's such a great question, because largely how they do in this this round of the playoffs, all these coaches, that will largely determine what the right answer or correct answer is to this question. Right now I'm a little split. I'm split on
I'll throw in
split on Carlisle, and I'm split on maybe Chris Finch.
Chris Finch is an interesting one because it's going to be what his adjustments are in game 2 are going to be huge. That's why I like to ask these questions before, because I want to get people's opinion before we get the easier answer. Because if Chris Finch comes out and dominates, or if Jason Kidd dominates him again, they win 2 on the road, then it becomes more of, okay, maybe we see a little bit more. If we wait till after the playoffs and whoever wins is going to be the answer, so we can go easy that way. I do like Nate brought up a good point here on the text side, which is that Jason Kidd is the first coach to really get Kyrie to calm down and beat Kyrie. And I think there's other factors in that, but to get the best version of Kyrie Irving, at this point in his career, when everyone else who's been doing it has failed.
And you got Luka playing some defense in critical moments, in crucial moments, something we didn't see from Luka early on in his career.
Yeah.
It could, like I said, it could easily be Jason Kidd, but we won't know that until like 3-4 games into this series, 3-4 more games into this series. So, it's a great question, because I don't know if there's a right answer.
That's it's why.
And I don't know if there's a wrong one. I don't know if there's a wrong one either.
Yeah, exactly. That's where. None of them are bad coaches. We can all say they're all good coaches. It's just a question of, are any of them really above the others?
Yeah.
If you were hiring a coach right now, if you were the Lakers and you said we have to hire a coach today and we get the pick of these 4, I don't know. I don't know which of the 4 I choose.
But then that's a different question, because that's all about your roster, what you're trying to achieve.
I get that. Yeah. No, but the report I read yesterday that the Lakers, by the way, feel that JJ Redick could be a Pat Riley type.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is definitely somebody who wants to hire him, putting that out there. A Pat Riley type?
Well, because they said he could coach the team for years and then go into management and lead us. And I was like, man, you have already written, you're already married. Like when you go on a first date and you walk in and you're like, man, our kids are going to be beautiful. You're like, whoa, calm down a minute.
Yeah, seriously, slow down just a minute. Yeah, we'll see what the Lakers do. But you're right. I think it's a good question, because I said no right answer, really no wrong answer for that. All right, so that's up at the Horn X account at the Horn ATX. Go check that out for the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. All right, before we get into the NCAA approving. Wow, revenue sharing for players. What a time to be alive. And we'll get into observations about the Cowboys and OTAs. Let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball struggles and MLP barks continued as they dropped their second game of the Big 12 tournament 8-7 to Cincinnati and were eliminated. Texas will now wait until Monday to see where they will end up in the regional round, with most projections having Texas as a 2 seed. In the NBA, the Mavericks stole home court advantage with a 108-105 win over the Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Kyrie led the way early and finished with 30 points, and Luka Doncic came on in the second half to have 33 in the game. Game 2 will be on Friday. Tonight, the Pacers try to even the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics. They're losing a close one on Tuesday. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros lost the last game of their homestand to the Angels 2-1. They finished a 10-game run at 7-3, and now have a day off before heading to Oakland. And the Rangers dropped the second game of their series to the Phillies 11-4, and now will try to salvage their series with a quick turnaround, playing a day game today with pregame starting at 11:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. We'll get to those Cowboys OTA nuggets here in just a second, but here's the latest on the changing landscape of major college sports. I feel like something every day it's something else, so I feel obligated to at least update you guys. The vote wasn't unanimous, but the NCAA Board of Governors voted to accept the settlement with plaintiffs in the House versus NCAA antitrust case. It's a history-making development because it's going to bring in, like I said, new financial framework for major college sports where there will be revenue sharing with the college athletes. So now the NCAA, they say, what a time to be alive. NCAA officially voting to allow schools to pay players. It's like I know we've been heading this way for a while, but to say it out loud and even having this, I feel like I've been doing sports entertainment, sports radio for like 15 years now.
Yeah,
I feel like we've been having this discussion every year about amateurism and the NCAA modernizing their model, their business model, and exploitation of the players. And NIL was the great compromise between whether you're going to pay the players or you're going to make them employees, and the old model of amateurism was kind of the compromise there. And then it seems like now officially, like it's crazy to say it, that it's now official. Like I say, it wasn't a unanimous vote, Patrick, but we are at the point now where the NCAA is now saying, all right, you can pay them. You can pay them. That organization, which was vehemently, viscerally opposed to, they wouldn't even let EA Sports pay the players. Remember, guys, EA Sports told them, hey, listen, just to keep the video game going, because we know we'll pay all the back settlements after losing the Edo banning case for illegally using players' name, image, and likeness. We will make sure the video game, we'll take the profits. We will pay the players. We'll give them all a check for using their name, image, and likeness. We just need you to approve it so that we can keep the video game going because it's so popular. We don't even really care about making that much for profit. We may make a profit, we may not, but it's such a great kind of pop culture wedge for us. It keeps keeps us relevant with such a really great demographic, which is college football fans, young and old. That, hey man, we just want to make sure the video game. And the NCAA said no. They said no, you don't have to pay them. We'll pay them. And they said no, we don't think student athletes should be getting compensated for anything, even their name, image, and likeness. And now we're at the point now we're way past NIL. We're at the point now where they're about to get a straight up check, from schools. Based on the revenue sharing model and NIL on top of that.
No, I mean, if you look back at some of these ridiculous cases that people were getting in trouble for signing autographs and getting, and they would go, you signed an autograph, the 6-game ban because you got a tattoo because you signed an autograph for the tattoo artist and he liked you. That's a 6. You get out of the league. What is wrong with you? You're ruining sports. To now, it's saying, please don't kill us. Please don't kill us. Take the money.
Please don't unionize. Don't unionize. Please don't unionize. Take this money.
Take this money. Hey, we're the good guys now. Hey, look at us, the good guys.
Yeah. No, man, it is. It's remarkable and good for college sports. And it'll get figured out. It's going to be, I think, a rocky road early on because they don't really know how this is going to look. And this is all brand new, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So at least the NCAA finally on the right side of history. They've been on the wrong side for a long time. All right, let's get to these Cowboys notes here. Shout out to, I want to say, yes, this is from DallasCowboys.com. That's where I got it. The notes from here. And it's from Nick Harris and Patrick Walker, a combination of everything they saw at OTAs. So he just kind of made a list here from their observations from practice sessions. And we'll also hear from James Slater. This is actually from earlier this week, but James Slater talking about Zeke's role. And there's been a lot of talk about Zeke and what is going to be his role with the Cowboys now in that running back room, a very weak running back room. It says here Zeke is being viewed as the leader of the running backs room. It says already beginning to look like a committee approach as he and Rico Dowdle split nearly all of the first team reps. Patrick, there you go. So at least he's splitting the first team reps. Patrick is frustrated because he don't think he should even be splitting first team reps.
Who's he splitting them with, by the way?
Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, okay, this is still the problem. You can't say, well, he's splitting them with another guy who shouldn't be the lead back.
That's why they're splitting them. But no, they're gonna always have running back by committee. But I'm with you. It's a weak committee. It's a weak committee. It's a weak committee. There's no doubt. That committee is as weak as any committee I've ever seen. That's a weak
weaker
committee.
than the NCAA, man.
Yeah, that's right. That is a weak committee. That's like that the PTA, and it's like that one of those weak PTAs, PTA groups. Like they got no power at all. Like that. That's a weak committee.
It's it's like two people.
like it.
It's two people without jobs trying to lift each other up. Like someone's got to work in this house. Someone's got to work. I get it. Like neither one of them are bad running backs. They both could work as the second piece in a committee. They both could. I don't want to, because Rico Dowdle's not a bad running back. He's just a second piece in a committee. And Zeke's not a terrible running back. He's just past his prime. Could be the second back in a committee. But you need that. Cow. You need that first back. You need that guy, because if you say you're going into every single game hoping that one of them has a good game and one of them matches up well and one of them gets going, and what if neither of them get going and you're on carry 10 and you have 8 yards rushing? You're just throwing it for the rest of the game?
No, it could be a problem. No, they need a featured back. I think they know that. But my point is, they're hoping. You always say hope is not a strategy, but the Cowboys hoping that when teams cut down the rosters, that there'll be a back available after everybody cuts down the rosters, or they'll have an easy trade. And
I'm hoping they will. It's everything
Yeah.
they've done so far is fit into the mold of them going into the season with Zeke as their running back. And then if it doesn't work, we'll figure it out there. That's what it feels like from everything they've done and what this team is known to do, is that they're not going to make a move until they get into week 2 or 3, and it becomes
that would be a mistake.
I agree, but I think there's been several mistakes made so far.
Well, no, I'm talking about that they should try to figure it out.
They should.
And when teams cut down the rosters, they should make a move, because they're not going to find a lead back there, but at least they'll find another committee member.
Yeah,
a capable committee member is what you need now.
Yeah,
this is the Argo principle, guys. We are past good ideas. We're now at the best bad idea situation. So don't think that that I'm suggesting what they got to. No. This is the best of the bad ideas. You put yourself in a situation and you got no choice. Here's the stats on Zeke, though. Since 2022, among the 72 running backs who qualified with at least 100 carries in that time, 58th in missed tackles forced, in the rate of missed tackles forced out of 72 running backs, 69th in explosive run rate, 33rd in stuff rate, which is actually pretty good. So short yardage. Stuff rate is when you stop somebody at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage for a negative play. So that doesn't happen to Zeke very often. So Zeke is really good. Not really good. He is good and capable and effective in short yardage situation. And he's 55th in yards after contact per attempt. So he's not. Those stats would tell you this guy is not necessarily. He's not a bell cow running back. He's not necessarily even a lead featured member of your committee. He just got to be, just a part of it at some point situationally. Rico Dowdle, how about this? He's had one season of 150 plus touches in his football playing career at the high school, college, or pro level.
So he's not. He's got fresh legs. Is what you're saying? He's got fresh legs.
Yes, he only in high school he had a season with 215 touches in high school, but other than that, in college, the rest of his high school years in college and the NFL. He's only had one season more than 150 plus touches. So for him, even in the committee member role, this is going to be relatively new. All right, there you go. So that's some observation. Oh, matter of fact, hey, can we have the Jane Slater song talking about Zeke too? Before we move on here and get some more observations. Here's Jane Slater. She was on NFL Network, and they asked about Zeke's role with the Cowboys. Here's what she had to say.
Jane, what is going on?
Well, and you guys know this as well. Remember, they didn't want to pay Zeke. They felt like he had the tread on his tires. I had gone to the Cowboys and said, why not go and offer him, like a $2 million, $3 million deal? He ultimately got that with Patriots. He showed that he still had plenty of gas left in the tank. Now, I don't think he's going to be expected to be their number one guy. They say that now. Mike McCarthy, Tom, said that he expects this to be a running backs by committee. But we've learned in Dallas, when they do that with any position on offense, I go back to after they moved on from Amari Cooper, they did wide receiver by committee. That didn't work out when they departed from him. So we'll see what they do with this running back. I do anticipate that just given his experience, given his football IQ, that Zeke will still be relied on heavily, particularly when you consider how young this offensive line is. Remember, the Cowboys moved on for their starting center, Tyler Biotish. They also moved on from Tyron Smith, their starting left tackle. So as Mike described it last week, yes, Zeke's going to have to learn a couple of protections, but everyone I've talked to said it looks like he never even left. And we've seen him already out at charity events with Dak, just seemingly getting right back into the system.
All right, so there's your Zeke update, whether you like it or not. Zeke's going to be a big part of this offense, and Patrick does not like it.
I just if the expectations are Super Bowl or bust, I think you should probably have a running back. That's my real hot take on that one. I think you should have a starting running back on your roster if your expectations are Super Bowl or bust.
I don't disagree with that. Tyler, here's the other update here. Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe apparently going to have to earn their starting roles in 2024, beginning their journey because they started off on the second team with second team reps, while Chumi Idoga was at left tackle and Brock Hoffman at center. Don't worry, guys. They'll be, I think, honestly, by the time the season starts. Now, no doubt Tyler Guyton will be starting. I mean, he's a first-round pick. I think Cooper Beebe, he was one of your steals of the draft. So I think they want to play him at center. So his transition may take a little longer because he's been playing guard for the most part. Really smart, though. They believe he can transition pretty easily. Crazy to say I trust the Cowboys, but I do trust the Cowboys.
I trust them on the offensive line, 100%.
Yeah, exactly right. They do really well offensive line evaluations. How about this? The battle for the wide receiver the third wide receiver spot is apparently also a big hot topic. Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks were both targeted by Dak Prescott in first team duties during full team drills. Kavontae Turpin was also a part of it. He was targeted heavily as well in 7-on-7 drills. So who's going to be that third wide receiver in this offense for the Cowboys now that Michael Gallup is no longer there? The Jalen twins, I think is what they're calling them. They said basically these two guys have been here's the quote from Brandon Laurie. The Jalen twins, Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert, have seemingly become Dak Prescott's shadow this offseason. In CeeDee Lamb's absence, because CeeDee Lamb is not at these voluntary OTAs. Extra reps with the first team offense will be beneficial come December and January. So at least they're hanging out with Dak a lot. That's good news. All right. They're just kicking it with Dak, trying to learn the offense. How about this? This is a night, we probably should have gotten into this earlier. Trey Lance update. Says Trey Lance had several well-placed throws in the full team reps to open practice, including in traffic over the middle that only undrafted receiver Corey Crooms was in position to elevate and grab it. He said as Lance looks more comfortable in this offense, he is starting to process things a little bit faster now in the offense. And he's been now in his offense for an entire offseason, so he should be more comfortable. And how about this? I got this from Patrick Walker. Here's a quote from Dak on Trey Lance. He said, he's gotten so much better. I'm excited for where he is now. From the time that he came in, first and foremost, I think this position is 80% confidence, obviously understanding his last situation. But for him to come in open arms, be such a great teammate, be accepted by all of his teammates, and just really want to help this team. He said, I think what's changed is his mindset. And just come in really with that mindset of working hard. How can I get better? And asking me questions, asking Cooper Rush questions, asking coaches questions. He's calling young guys. He works his butt off. So, yeah, there you go. So even Dak saying he's working behind. I don't know what the Trey Lance plan is. I like that they have an option at quarterback for a developmental option for the future. Basically.
Oh, if you didn't draft the quarterback, you have to have somebody there. Trey Lance, as we said multiple times, is around the same age as some of the guys who were drafted this season. So it is not, you get someone with more NFL experience, but also still has the youth part of it as well. They need to have somebody like that on the roster. So it's nice to see that he's actually getting the offseason to work with them now and see if he advances up to be, actually on the active roster on the sideline in the uniform this year.
Yeah.
And if he can actually push Cooper Rush at all.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so here's another quote from Dak, because I'm with you. I'm like, he's battling for the second string quarterback spot, of course. Well, here's what Dak had to say. Dak had to say, excuse me. He says he's pushing me. I can tell you that. He said, I don't like to let other people get more reps than me. Trey's the person I've got to watch because he's trying to get up there in rep count. It's a testament to him and how he's putting in this work. I've seen him and he's gotten better. Yeah, he can play. As long as he's getting better, I promise you I'm getting better. It's interesting. Cause I'm like, hello, I thought Cooper Rush would be getting the second most reps. So maybe he's getting as many reps as Cooper Rush. Interesting that Dak would throw that out there. He's getting a lot of reps.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I
I'm
think
assuming
I think they know he needs them, and
he definitely needs them.
yeah, if you're
with you.
Cooper Rush, you know what, I think you all know what Cooper Rush can do. So you say, we're okay with him. We know what he can do. We need to get Trey Lance because we don't know. And if you're the Cowboys, this could be your quarterback next season.
It's definitely an outside possibility.
I mean, so yeah, I think you're looking at this as we have a free scouting session on a free agent quarterback. If we let Dak walk after this season, there's somebody that we could go and, here's somebody we could use. So let's go get him as many reps as we possibly can to see what we got.
Yeah. It says here also Mike Zimmer has discussed the likely usage of 3 linebackers in his system. Damone Clark, Eric Kendricks, of course, and how about this? Maurice Lafau were the ones taking the first team reps. DeMarvin Overshown say figures to be a factor in the equation when he is medically cleared later this offseason. So he hadn't been medically cleared yet. I think he's out there, but he hadn't been medically cleared to take part in any of the kind of organized team activities. So there you go. So a little bit of an update here. I got some more. We'll get into those a little bit later on because I got an update on Mozzie Smith. So a lot of people want to know what Mozzie Smith's weight's going to be. Fluctuated a lot last year. Really couldn't find his groove. Couldn't find his role. Some people thought it may have been some stuff away from the football field that distracted him. And now that the Cowboys' first round pick from 2 years ago, now that he may be past some of that, he's ready to focus. New system, so a new start for him. A lot of people wondering if he could be an impact player for the Cowboys this upcoming season. So we'll have an update on him when we talk Cowboys again next time we do that, coming up in the 9 o'clock. All right, let's get into some Texans talk. We'll go into Texans talk. We'll go into Rod's round today. I'll tell you what CJ Stroud, or at least what kind of concept and defense CJ Stroud can expect to see this upcoming season. Very different from what he saw his rookie year, and we'll talk about why that is. And we'll give you some OTA updates from Texans training camp as well. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about my friends over at Apple Leasing because they want to be your friends too. You need friends like my friends at Apple Leasing because these are friends that can save you time and save you money. And that we all know that, hey, time is money these days. My friends at Apple Leasing, they want to save you both. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The pros at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. And all it takes is one phone call from you or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing's simple interest easy lease does just that. It makes things simple and easy for you. It's going to give you more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find a vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is out of control. It's through the roof. Everything seems expensive these days. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. That's why leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call Apple Leasing today, 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977. Let them see how much money they can save you. They get all the same discounts, all the same incentives that the dealers do. do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they prefer to pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. I want to talk a little Texans here because everybody's really expecting big things from C.J. Stroud. That offense is loaded, especially adding Stephon Diggs, adding Joe Mixon, and coming off one of the greatest rookie seasons we've seen from a quarterback in NFL history. Everybody's expecting a leap, another leap, potentially to be an MVP conversation type lead from CJ Stroud with all the weapons around him. And if you know, even if he just plays like he did last season, you don't get regression, he probably will be in that conversation because now you're just adding so many more weapons. Something else he's going to see, though, because young quarterbacks always see this. Young quarterbacks see a lot of man-to-man, number one, because they want to see if a young quarterback can just make throws in tight windows. And especially for the Texans, essentially. Texans, think about it, Nico Collins was unproven last year until he had his breakout season last season. The NFL didn't know much about Tank Dell. all right, as a young wide receiver, even though he was spectacular for them. So two of their main weapons offensively, two of their main explosive weapons, they had years, breakout years. And now they are players that teams will game plan for, but nobody was really game planning for Nico Collins until probably late in the season. And they were challenging him and challenging the Texas receivers. Why wouldn't they challenge him? And you challenge receivers by playing man-to-man coverage. You challenge young quarterbacks by playing man and saying, all right, I'll see if he can beat me by just making tight window throws. Another reason the Texans saw a lot of man coverage is because teams brought an extra defender in the box, because when you're dealing with a young quarterback, you're going to force the young quarterback to prove himself. And usually an offensive coordinator is going to accompany a young quarterback with a heavy run game, right? With a run game that has an identity, so that you don't put too much and overburden a young quarterback. And the same thing with Texas. Texas want to run the rock, especially Bobby Sloak being a Shanahan disciple. They want to run the rock. So when you're going up against heavy run teams, you play a lot of single high coverages, which are cover 1 and cover 3, with a single deep safety, so you can put an extra defender down into the box to help with run support. So essentially, with those factors, CJ Stroud saw a lot last year, saw a lot of single high coverages. And even if you go look at his, oftentimes how often he saw cover 3. Now, cover 3 also is a zone coverage, but allows you to put an extra defender in the box to help with run support and stop the run. If you go look at the top 10 teams in terms of cover 3 played against them in 2023, Texans were number 3, 41% of CJ Stroud's passing snaps. He was facing a team with cover 3. There are a lot of teams that also played cover 1 against them, because you're also putting an extra defender in the box. And that is why, this season now, and it's happened actually to Patrick Mahomes, it happened to Josh Allen, where they saw a significant increase after their first couple of years in the league. And I think CJ Stroud will see it even after his first year, a significant increase in the amount of too high coverages teams played against them to back a safety up, so that they make it tougher on the quarterback to be able to, throw into the numbers disadvantage in the passing game. So you have 2 deep safeties. You can play more disguise with those 2 deep safeties. You also guarantee that you're going to have numbers advantages in the passing game, as opposed to when you play single high coverages, where you don't always have those numbers advantages playing man-to-man or even playing cover 3, right? So for Patrick Mahomes, it happened you go look at in 2018 and 2019, he saw significant increases in the too high coverages played against him. It was at 31% too high coverages played against him in 2019. That number in 2020 jumped to 49%, and it just continued to rise. It's still pretty high, which is why you see Patrick Mahomes throwing what? Short passes now, right? He only had 2 touchdown passes of 20 plus yards the last couple of years. His average yards per touchdown reception, yards per attempt, have all dropped down to single digits, right? Because teams are playing 2 deep high safeties on him. They're giving him the underneath. They're giving him the short passes. They're giving him the intermediate passes. Because they're scared. They were afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs beating them deep. Now, not so much, because they realized, Patrick Mahomes can beat us throwing it underneath, and he also can beat us throwing it with the short and the quick game as well. So now you've seen it flip, where teams are now starting to compress, bring their safeties up, because Travis Kelce's killing them in the intermediate routes. He's killing them in the short game. So now they're bringing their safeties back up, because you don't have to worry about Tyreek Hill anymore. You don't have to worry about them stretching vertically anymore. Now they got Xavier Worthy. Now they brought in Hollywood Brown. So they're going to basically back those safeties up again, so they can clear out the short underneath and the intermediate game. So it's just a chess match. They're going back and forth. But either way, it doesn't matter. Patrick Mahomes can beat you either way. Hopefully CJ Stroud is a quarterback that also can evolve in that same manner, where, hey, whatever the defense is doing, whatever they want to give me, I can beat you with whatever you give me. You want to give me the deep vertical routes? I can beat you with that. You want to beat me by taking away the vertical routes and the deep routes and forcing me to beat you with underneath short and quick game, I can do that too. And I think that's what CJ Stroud's going to be forced to do this season. I think they're going to take away the deep routes, because you got to worry about Stephon Diggs. You Got to worry about Nico Collins. Got to worry about Tank Dell now. You got Dalton Schultz. You got to worry about. I say, all right, hell no. I'm backing my safeties up. And we know that quarterback can make all the throws. We're backing our safeties up. We're going to play more disguise. And we're going to play more shell umbrella coverage to take away the deep explosive pass plays. And we're going to force him now to beat us underneath, like they forced Josh Allen to have to do, like they forced Joe Burrow to have to do, like they forced Patrick Mahomes. It happens to all the great young quarterbacks in the league. They just take away all your deep vertical routes and force you. See if you have the patience to work your way down the field, making the right play time after time, but not the big play, just the right play. And it's almost a dink and dunk. Oh, sometimes it's a check down. Sometimes it's a crossing route. Sometimes, it's going to be the one-on-one you find on the outside. But I'm not going to give you the big explosive play down the field. And we've seen it happen to all the quarterbacks, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. I think it's going to happen to C.J. Stroud too, Patrick. And I think that's going to be the evolution for him. Does he, as a young quarterback, have the patience to? Because remember, at one point, Patrick Mahomes kept throwing into that too high shell. And he started turning the football over. Remember when Patrick Mahomes started the season with all the turnovers? I was like, man, what's going on with Patrick Mahomes? Because he was stubborn. He's like, no, hell no. I still want these pretty, beautiful vertical routes down the field, these highlight plays. And the defense coordinator was saying, hell no, we're not giving it to you. All right. And if you don't have the patience to march down the field 8 to 10 to 12 play drives, then sorry, young buck, I think we've figured out a formula to be able to neutralize you. And finally, Patrick Mahomes decided, all right, to hell with it. Now, he doesn't even have any vertical game. They've castrated his offense. There's no vertical game to the Kansas City Chiefs offense. It's just short to intermediate. And he still is able to dissect teams in a just almost flawless manner because now as a quarterback, he's had to evolve his game. Josh Allen hasn't totally evolved his game.
No,
he still wants to throw into those coverages sometimes.
And he just runs it. The other one is he just runs it.
And the other one, he just runs it. So he hasn't totally evolved his game. We're waiting on it. Joe Burrow, I think he has, but not as. He take what the defense is giving him, or will he decide, no, I'm taking what I want?
Yeah.
And in this league, you can't do that. You got to take what the defense is giving you.
And I'll throw in, I think it's a challenge for Bobby Slowick to get what he wants out there as a young coach and a young play caller to, as somebody who's, was offered a lot of head coaching positions and probably still wants to, keep those up is, you want to get big plays. You want to, you don't want to call 15 plays in a row to try and get a score. Right. You want to move. So can he continue to be patient in the play calling and give CJ Stroud options? So it's not just check downs. You're actually giving him plays across the middle that can go put Nico Collins in space where he's really good with yards after catch. Can you get it? Can you make those things happen? And then, making sure you have a second running back behind Joe Mixon so you can run the ball more in those situations. The more they back up, the more you can run the ball, because we know that's a piece for Kansas City. When they got Pacheco and he started to run the ball a little bit better, it helped that defense as well, because now it makes you step up a little bit more. It makes your linebackers step up, and it makes that gap between the two back safeties and the linebackers that much bigger to throw into, because now your linebackers aren't able to sit in the middle and you kind of have to compress a little bit at the front. So if Dameon Pierce, I know there's been reports that he looks really good in camp. If they keep him, that if he progresses and over the offseason worked on how to read that offense and make his moves, that would be a big piece for them going forward. Because if you have two backs that can run and make explosive plays and make them step up, the linebackers step up, and the safeties are back, so still a lot of room to play with.
No, you're right about that. I mean, that's going to be big for him. That's why you're right. It's Bobby Slowick. It is a challenge for him because now building, you got to put in more concepts where you can take advantage of the short to intermediate game if teams are just going to take away those deeper routes. So I think it's going to happen. I'm telling you, Black Stradamus, it's prediction, but it happens to all the young quarterbacks, all the young prodigies. And it's just them testing your maturity as a young quarterback. And most young quarterbacks fail initially. Even Patrick Mahomes failed initially and then wised up. And we'll see if that happens for CJ Stroud. I'm confident it will. All right, we come back. We got what the facts, what the stats on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. We all love the city of Austin. What's not to love? Even the traffic, all right? And the reason that you have the traffic is because people love this city, and they keep moving to this city. That makes the traffic even worse. But as the city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that we love in this city were actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or maybe you want a new challenge or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. Right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now, it's the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. All right, let's get into some what the facts, what the stats here. I got an interesting one from the game last night. I meant to give this in the first hour of the show when we were talking about. As a matter of fact, we'll get back to reviewing the Mavs' big win to steal home court advantage away from the Timberwolves. So Dallas became just the fifth team ever to lose the three-point battle by 12 or more threes and win a playoff game. Dallas, the fifth team to ever lose the three-point battle by 12 or more threes and still win a playoff game. I believe the Lakers did it. Lakers did it because they beat Golden State 117 to 112, and they did it. Milwaukee did it in 2021, I believe. Beating Miami 109 to 107. Oklahoma City did it in 2020. They beat Houston 117 to 114. And it says here that Memphis did it in 2015, beating Portland 99-93.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot of other things go right if that's the case.
That's
but
crazy.
I mean,
That's
it also helped that a lot of those threes were in the first half for
yes.
Minnesota. So a lot of threes from Minnesota were in the first half. Dallas hit more of theirs in the second half. So there was a little bit of a twist of, you know, how it adjusted in the second half when Dallas made their run and got the lead. But yeah, the reality was, what, you know, if you're dunking the ball over and over again, you're usually going to be okay.
Yeah, got a lot of dunks, got a lot of shots to rim, a lot of points in the paint, as we talked about it. We'll get back to that conversation too. But there you go, for what the facts, what the stats. All right, we come back. We'll talk NBA. We'll talk about the Mavs' big win in Game 1 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll get into all the details of it, the tandem performance, the dynamic duo of Luka and Kyrie. We'll get into that also. There is big news on the NBA, kind of the macro conversation of the NBA. The NBA on TNT looks like it will be no more. Looks like the NBA is going to be moving on from TNT, which means the Inside the NBA show that everybody loves so much has been around for like 25 years or something like that.
For a while.
It's been on for a long time. It also will be moving on, and we don't know how the future of that broadcast team is going to look. So we'll get into that a little bit too, because they're moving on to some other platforms. And we know now why TNT. Now we know why TNT did not want to invest in the NBA, because they want to get in the college football game. They want to be in the college football business. So we'll talk about that coming up when we get into some NBA discussion after we review the Game 1 for the Mavs, the Game 1 win for the Mavs last night. All of that and more when we return. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. It's with my co-host, the Idealionaire, Patrick Davis, comes up with a new theme for every Thursday. He comes up with basically a new theme for every day. They have the musically themed days of the week, but Thursday is a new theme Thursday. And this Thursday, he's basically kind of celebrating his own birthday because this weekend he'll have his birthday celebration at the Austin Beer Garden. It's going to be great. Matter of fact, we'll give you some details about that in just a second. But new theme Thursday dedicated to his birth year, 1984. So all the jams they came out in that year, 1984. Man, this is another one, another banger. This has got to be the biggest. This is definitely the biggest hit in 1984, is it not?
I don't believe so. I think Prince may have got it. So it's either this or Prince.
Wow.
Because you got to remember, Purple Rain came out in 84.
Purple Rain came out in 84. That's true. Purple Rain was awesome.
This is when this rivalry,
the rivalry started.
Well, it was when it had to be near its peak.
The peak of it.
Because you're talking about Purple Rain versus Thriller. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. Like, I can't even. Man, Purple Rain. Yeah, no, Purple Rain was big. Man, I said Thriller was huge. I remember that damn just the video and all that. It was on forever.
It was
that damn video.
It was. So I don't know.
Remember the video because they played it so damn.
I don't because I looked at different lists of what the best songs were from it, and so it was different people's opinions of which was the top songs. But yes,
yeah.
Of albums too, of how many hits were on Purple Rain and how many hits were on.
It's a bunch of hits on that joint, man. Oh man, yeah, you're right. Damn, you might be in the running for having one of the greatest musical years for a birth year ever.
Yeah,
in 84.
That's what made it easy to do this thing because you were just like, I mean, because again, there's going to be like I probably won't even get to like Tina Turner. What's Love Got to Do with It? Is in that year. Probably won't get to that one.
Damn.
Like there's a lot. I mean, great rock albums in that year too.
Wow, we might have to do like a documentary about 1984.
1984 was a gigantic year. Yeah, there was so much good music. There's Hall & Oates stuff that came out in 1984 too.
Yeah, you came out with some stuff in 1984. It might have been great, and it just kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah, I was a hit for 1 week.
It's as if people jammed it for a week and was like, we're moving on. That's tough. All right, good stuff there from my man Patrick. As a matter of fact, give folks some details about the B-Day celebration happening this weekend, this Saturday.
Big birthday celebration happening Saturday at South Austin Beer Garden. It's down on Manchac. It is going to be a fun time. The party starts at 2:00, music at 3:30. The raffle we'll do at 5 o'clock. Music goes till 6 o'clock, and then we'll be hanging out watching games on the TV. I was hoping that we were going to be watching the Texas in the Big 12 championship game that was going to be at 7 o'clock on there, but that is not the case. But the raffle items are coming together. We're going to have a big screen TV. We got a nice grill that's going to be part of the raffle. We've got some Ranger swag we're giving away as part of the raffle. We've got music lessons we're giving away. Some liquor packages that are going to be there. A lot of really, really good stuff that we have got lined up. So you can come out and buy raffle tickets. All that money is going to go to the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, is who we're picked as our beneficiary. They help give local musicians affordable health care, which is a big thing. So it's a very cool thing that we're going to be doing. And I hope you come out, buy some tickets, and hang out with us. It's a free show, so you can come on down and enjoy some music for free, enjoy some hangouts for free, watch the games. I'll have the games on. Then we'll be down out on the patio with the music and having a good time and the raffle and all that. So it'll be a lot of fun on Saturday. And we did it during the day, keep it nice and easy. Didn't make, if you still want to go out at night, you still want to do
so
what
you can bring dogs, you can bring
kids,
family friendly,
kid
friendly, dog friendly, and it's a good time for a great cause.
There you go.
So kudos to you, brother, for making it such a great cause and sharing your birthday with all of us. So we appreciate it because I'll be there. I'll be there hanging out.
Yes,
it's gonna be fun. And my man Patrick, he knows a lot of musicians and bands, so it's gonna be trust me, the live music's gonna be on point. I can guarantee that. I know that for a fact. All right, thank you, Patrick, for that. Also, Patrick came up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day, which is already posted on the X account. You can go check that out at the Horn ATX. Patrick, let the people know what the topic is for the Big Fat Poll of the day.
Big Fat Poll of the day today. Who is the best coach left in the NBA playoffs? It seems like a straightforward question, but I don't know if there's a straightforward answer to it. Right now, Rick Carlisle is winning the poll online.
That makes
Jason
sense,
Kidd
though.
and saying he is an NBA champion. And if you're a Mavs fan, you have both Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle are on your list because Rick Carlisle coached them to the championship in
And
2011 with
both the
Jason
clear
Kidd
leaders,
on
yeah.
that team.
Yeah, it's true. Good point.
Which would
And
be
then-
the interesting part.
yeah.
If it was Pacers and Mavs, it would be a coach coaching against a player that he had coached to a championship, which I have no idea how many times. I guarantee that is a stat that would be brought up if it happens. It is not likely to happen, but
Seriously.
that would be both underdog teams coming up and winning. But that's an interesting stat that could be a possibility.
That's a nice little factoid. I didn't even think about that. But that also explains the two leaders in the poll right now. Rick Carlisle leading at 46% of the votes, and then Jason Kidd at 36% of the votes. So looks like those are at least your two front runners in that conversation. But like I said, the reason it's a good question is because I don't know if there's a right or a wrong answer right now. And I can see Rick Carlisle easily being one because he's got a championship on his resume.
And no love
as a
for
coach.
Chris Finch, who really had a really good season with the Timberwolves.
He really did.
But
I want to see him. Like I said, that's why this is a big. If he ends up
just knocked off the
beating-
defending champs, and still
yes, exactly. And if he ends up
No
beating
love.
the Mavs and getting to the finals, then maybe that changes a little bit. But you're right; he's getting the least amount of respect. He's the Rodney Dangerfield of this poll. He's getting no respect. Joe Mazzulla, third in this poll of the for the topic for the big fat poll today. All right, thanks for that, Patrick. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines here, and then we'll come back and actually hear from Kyrie, and we'll hear from Luka. We got some audio of those guys in the post game talking about their 108-105 win over Minnesota to steal home court. I'm sure that actually is one of the headlines. So let's get educated, let's get updated, let's get informed with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball struggles in MLB parks continued as they dropped their second game of the Big 12 tournament 8-7 to Cincinnati and were eliminated. Texas will now wait until Monday to see where they end up in the regional round, with most projections having them as a 2 seed. In the NBA, the Mavericks stole home court advantage with a 108-105 win over the Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Kyrie Irving led the way early and finished with 30 points, and Luka Doncic came on in the second half to have 33 in the end. Game 2 will be on Friday. Tonight, the Pacers will try to even the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics after losing a close one on Tuesday. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros lost the last game of their homestand to the Angels 2-1. They finished the 10-game run 7-3 and now have a day off before heading to Oakland. The Rangers dropped the second game of their series to the Phillies 11-4 and will try to salvage the series with a quick turnaround today, playing a day game with pregame starting at 11:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Let's get right into the biggest of those headlines, being the Mavs and their big win, their upset win over the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1. It's still home court, 108-105, and it really was about the dynamic duo. I feel like Kyrie and Luka, they should have one of those celebrity combo names, celebrity couple treatment names like Luca-ry or something like that, because they were phenomenal. I mean, I know that was disgusting.
It doesn't work the other way though either.
What was the other way? Karuka? Yeah, this. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, I don't know how you would do it. It's bad. All right, we can go Luke.
Is it Kaika?
No, that sounds horrible.
It sounds really bad, but I think that's it, right? K-Y-K-A? Is it?
Yeah, you could. I guess that. Yeah, I was either way.
Kirka? We go Kirka?
It was gonna be ugly. It was gonna be. I don't even know why. I don't know why I even brought that up. I can't get into Hollywood celebrity.
No, Lou Reed is Lou Reed, maybe.
Lou Reed, that's it. There you go.
Lou
Either
Reed?
way,
Is that
it just doesn't. It doesn't roll off the tongue for some reason. But they were fantastic, but not together. It was Kyrie early on. Kyrie ended up with 30 points. 24 of those came in the first half. Luka ended up with 33 points. So you got 63 between the two of them, but 15 of those 33 for Luka came in the fourth quarter. And I mean, Kyrie was doing it. Both of these guys, by the way, were doing it on both ends. I got a stat for you about Kyrie defensively that people might find surprising. So how about this? Kyrie defensively in that game, when he defended any T-Wolves player, combined, they were 27% from the field, 27% shooting. He was motivated. It was pretty obvious, Patrick. He was motivated in this game. Matter of fact, we'll hear more of why he was motivated in this game. But he even said, this is the quote I got from him, first time for some guys, there was some nerves. I've been here before. There was a little bit more poise in my hands. So either maybe the coaches knew he was going to be more poised, or maybe Luka took it upon himself to say, hey, let me set the tone, because a lot of these guys are young. They haven't been here before. I've been here. And maybe a lot of the guys on the other side from Minnesota, they haven't been here before. Let me set the tone. And that's exactly what he did. And I think a lot of it was he was motivated by what he thought was bulletin board material from Anthony Edwards when Anthony Edwards was asked about who you're going to guard. And he said, it's going to be Kyrie, and I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be fun. Nothing fun about that first half guarding Kyrie Irving, man, because he was focused.
Yeah, when Anthony Edwards, because he gave the whole, I had Jamal Murray in handcuffs, I had Jamal in handcuffs, and then I got Kyrie. And it's good. But yeah, you say it to a guy who's really, really good at basketball, and he understood. Kyrie Irving understood. And I told you this earlier. You understand too. It's way easier to run forward, and when you know where you're going, than if you're chasing somebody and you're running backwards and you're trying to keep your eye out. And so you can get worn out on defense real quick. And Kyrie just kept moving around and we got the ball. He drove right at him, and he just made Anthony Edwards work early. And I think part of it was a game plan by the Mavericks, that they knew that Denver was going to, or that Minnesota was going to come out and make the same plan they had against Denver and attack and blitz Luka and really try and slow him down to start the game, get in his head, knock him off his rhythm early. So they didn't give him the opportunity to, by just really letting everything flow through Kyrie a lot early and making them challenging Anthony Edwards, challenging, your best offensive player to be your best defensive player, and make them make adjustments that they were hoping not to make until the second half. Make those quickly, and then, what do you go back to what your game plan was at the start when Lucas starts going in the second half? I think it was a concerted effort by the Mavs to try and throw off what they thought Minnesota was going to throw at them. Just saying, we know you want to go after him, because they did most of the game. They tried to blitz at Luka, and they knew that was going to be the case. And if you get early on, and you talk about all that, it's talking about setting the tone with the referees. That we saw the tone get set in that Denver series when Minnesota would play really physical and bump Jamal Murray. They didn't call it. That sets the tone for the game. So if you don't allow that, and you let Kyrie Irving set the tone for what the referees are going to be doing by driving at, and now you have their officials saying you can't call it when a guy's reaching and pushing. You can't, you don't want to, no, don't, we're pushing it this way. It changed up, I think, kind of everything that Minnesota wanted to do. It put them on their heels early in the game and allowed Dallas to never really get out of the game. Even when they had their shooting problems, they were able to stay in the game and be able to make that next run, because Minnesota didn't have the ability to really just shut them down at any point in the game.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I like your theory that it was strategy, that they knew, all right, they're going to take, this is an elite defensive team. If they set their mind to something, they're going to be able to do it. So why even give them an opportunity to do it? Let's use Luka as a decoy early on. We got 1A and 1B here.
Yeah.
Kyrie's one of the most skilled, if not one. They talk about him as one of the most skilled, if not the most skilled player potentially in NBA history. Let's let him go. And by the way, we had just talked about how Kyrie hadn't had a performance like that in the playoffs. He hadn't had a real elite offensive performance yet. We knew he had it in him, but it was as if the Mavs didn't need it, or maybe Kyrie hadn't really found his role in the playoffs for the team, whatever it may be. But no, maybe they were just saving Kyrie's breakout performance for when they needed it most. And in this game, you could argue that's when they needed him, because Luka was a little bit off. Kyrie did show up, and then in the late in the game, in clutch time, in winning time, that's when Luka really started to flourish. That's when really Luka really started to find his groove. Getting back to Kyrie, though, he was sitting down with the Inside the NBA guys, and they asked about those Anthony Edwards comments, of course. Here's what Kyrie had to say when they asked him if that was motivation for him early on in this matchup.
Kyrie, you at home minding your business the other night.
Yeah, what about it?
You with your beautiful family just chilling, probably having a nice meal, and then the young fella says, I got Kyrie. So, and you says, excuse me?
Yeah.
And he said it again. He said, I got Kyrie.
Yeah.
That's the most aggressive you've been in a long time.
Yes, sir.
I know that had to irk you a little bit.
Used it as a motivation. When I was sitting at home and I saw it, I was like, just a nod of respect. And then also, I knew what type of game it was going to be for game one and also for the rest of the series. So you're right. I was at home with my family watching Game 7.
You just minding your own business.
And then Ant comes out and says, I got Kyrie, but also that's a no fear mentality, and that's why we love Ant. So coming out tonight, I knew that he was going to pressure me a little bit, but I knew that they were coming off a Game 7, grueling game, so their legs were biting them a little bit tonight. So hopefully Game 2, they come back and they settle a little bit more, but we'll be prepared.
Yeah, and he did say a little comment at the end. Hey, I knew their legs might be biting him a little bit, so he pushed the rock and pushed the pace and the intensity early on. He really did set the tone, and they there are a lot of reasons why both teams should be optimistic, Patrick, going into the next game. If you're the Mavs, you won that game 108-105, and you shot 6 of 25 from 3-point range. This is a team during the regular season that shot the third most 3-point attempts in the league. And I think even in the postseason, they were shooting around 35. And yet in this matchup, they go 6 of 25. I gave this stat earlier, and it was shout out to Nick Wright. I believe he's the one that threw it out there, that the Mavs were just the 5th team ever to lose the 3-point battle by 12 or more threes and win a playoff game. Usually when you shoot that badly from 3-point range, Patrick, it comes back to bite you. It did not, I don't know if it did come back to bite him a little bit, but it didn't cost them the game.
No, and I mean, you didn't shoot threes well. And reality was the two main guys who were shooting threes were PJ Washington, who will probably have at least one good game in this series, if not two, or maybe even more. But he'll probably come back on. He didn't have the best game. He played well defensively, but not the best game offensively. And Luka Doncic, who wasn't shooting well, and he'll have a better game. Because we talk, yesterday I told you the main thing is Luka Doncic has to be efficient. And he wasn't inefficient in this game, really. He wasn't at a negative, but he had 4 turnovers. He shot under 50% from the field. He shot, 3 of 10 from 3-point land. So, he was not necessarily the efficient player you normally have. If you say Luka has a game where Luka plays like Luka, then, now the game's not close. Now, you have every reason to believe you could pull away further and you can win another game in this series because, there was a few things the Mavs just did not do well in the game and we're still able to pull it out. And, you also, if you're the Mavs, say there's no way Jaden McDaniels stays this hot.
Yeah, he was on.
At some point, he has to plateau out. I mean, we saw it with the Knicks, that the Knicks were shooting lights out and were just dominating. And then it finally caught up to them.
Josh Hart was on a heater.
Josh Hart was on a heater, and DiVincenzo still played well to the end.
He stayed, he had.
But Jalen Brunson got down a little bit more, and you just got beat up in that series. And knowing they just went 7 games to the defending champ Nuggets, that very few people game, and now you're going into another heavyweight bout right after that. And the rest thing, it was an extra day. I get it was a game 7. I get that there was, you played another game. I get all of that. But it was one more day. It's not like the Mavs are at super rested. So I think there's a little bit more being made of that. But at the same point, that as a series goes on, you're playing on Friday, and they go, well, they'll have we now have one day off in between that. You don't get a big rest day, and you don't get 2 days off, and they're not really giving you a lot of time in between because now for TV they want a game on every night, and there's only 2 series.
Yep. So
they don't want to give you the break of 2 or 3 days that you maybe got earlier in the playoffs. So this becomes for the Mavs, can you stay, with not a huge bench? Can you stay and get your legs to stay strong and keep Kyrie playing at that level? Because if Kyrie keeps attacking like that, you have a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Mavs fan.
Yeah, no doubt. And, the Mavs were aggressive. It's something I heard the Inside the NBA guys talking about, and they're so right. You brought it up too earlier this morning. The reason that the Timberwolves should be still optimistic after, obviously giving up home court advantage and losing game 1 is because the points in the paint discrepancy is just mind-boggling, considering that the size advantage for the T-Wolves is evident, right? You talk about it all the time. They got Gobert, they got big catch, so they got big skilled guy. They got a brute force guy in Gobert. And they got Nas Reed. They got so much. Hell, the Mavs are even missing Maxi Kleber, missing one of their big guys, and one of the other big guys, Derek Lively. He's a youngster. He's a baby out there, and yet they're able. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, give it up for him too. They combined for 20 rebounds. 8 of those were offensive. The points in the paint you brought up, they beat them 62-38 to points in the paint. A lot of dunks, a lot of shots at the rim. And on the flip side of that, you got the Mavs putting in work in the paint. And on the flip side of that, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't use their size advantage on offense either, because they ended up with 49 3-pointers they shot. 49 attempts. That is crazy for a team, like I said, with a size advantage. So they're going to use their size to their advantage. At one point in this series, they did not do that in game 1.
No, Karl Anthony Towns, 9 threes. Get inside. Go away. I get PJ Washington is not the matchup that Karl Anthony Towns would like, where you're playing against a guy who's like 6'8", 6'9", but he just does not care. Like, PJ Washington is a guy who doesn't care. He will bump with you. He is happy to be in the playoffs. He is happy to be where he's at right now. He has no problem bumping with you in the post. So you have to be smart about it and shoot over the top of him. Get down early, get in position, and go after it. Do the same thing the Mavs are doing. Play the 2-man big game, which they did at the end of this game a little bit better, but go in and have Gobert set up off. They're going to help over with Lively or Gafford onto Karl Anthony Towns when PJ Washington does it, and he just has to throw the ball behind him, and it's going to go to Gobert for an easy dunk. They did that later in the game, and Gobert would get the ball, and then he would pass it off to Karl Anthony Towns, who was cutting. That kind of play where you're just getting easier, smarter plays. They need to do that a lot more. I think they will. I don't think any way you watch that game film and think what we did was the right game plan. Anthony Edwards shot 16 shots, 12 threes.
Whoa, I didn't realize that. Are you serious?
16 shots, 12 threes.
Damn, that's crazy.
And that's somebody without legs, because if you'll ask why are Karl Anthony Towns shooting threes, why was Anthony Edwards shooting threes? It's because they're tired. And that's an easier shot. You catch the ball, you shoot the ball, you don't have to drive, because if you drive and there's a big man down there, now you got to pull it back out, and now you got to jump higher, and you got to go up, and maybe you're going to get hit, and maybe you're going to hit the ground. And if you hit the ground, you got to get off the ground. So just shoot the shot, and then, man, if I hit it, then I'm a hero.
Right. Yeah.
But I just got to keep shooting him. I know I can hit him.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. Wow. That's mind blowing. Yeah, they got to get more. They got to be more intentional about getting inside and using.
Nas Reed, 9 shots, 6 threes. Dang. Go inside.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that bad.
I mean,
49 of them. 49 3-pointers.
We understand that the Mavs, one of their giant defensive weaknesses is post-up players going inside on them. It's one of their biggest weaknesses. They don't have a big answer for it. You have guys who can hit threes, and Mike Conley and Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards, who will be on the perimeter, and Karl Anthony Towns. If you play Karl Anthony Towns and Nas Reed, and you send Nas Reed in, or if you put Karl Anthony Towns inside and put Nas Reed on the outside, then you can put 3 or 4 shooters on the perimeter, and that's how you take your threes, is off of double teams. And I'm okay with those threes, but to just continue to shoot threes that were contested threes at points, to not push harder at the paint, to not do back cuts from guys where you cut on the baseline and you get easy dunks the same way the Mavs were, those are just simple plays, and they'll go into practice today and tomorrow and really kind of hammer that home, I think, is why are you guys not trying to get the easier buckets? You cannot settle. This is how you lose, because, if you shoot 20, 22, 23 of 49, you win the game because you shoot. But what if you shoot 10 for 49? You're not that far off of either way. It could get worse. It doesn't get better, because if Jaden McDaniels doesn't hit all his in the beginning, then your 3-point percentage is awful.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And Jaden McDaniels was great. He was great in the first. He had 19 of his 24 came in the first half, tailored off a little bit in the second half. But man, you're right about that 3-point shot. They basically kind of shot themselves out of the game. And when you don't go down low and be physical, like you always talk about, you pass up the opportunity to get the opponent in foul trouble. You got to try
and get them tired
too. get them tired, wear them out for the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you don't want it to where, Luka is out there just being able to do whatever he wants and you're tired because they've been running at you all game and running downhill all game. And just there's nothing you can do when you have the defensive player of the year and 2 7-footers on the court and they dominate you in points on the paint. There's no way you don't hang your head walking out of that. And you heard in the post game that the post game interviews with the Timberwolves players, there was a lot of, well, we're tired and we weren't. No, if you're Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns and you don't walk out of that game and go, that one's on me, 100% on me. That's my fault. We had the wrong game plan. I didn't do what I needed to do. I didn't adjust quick enough. That's on me. I'll be better next game. Let's go. Then you're setting the mood for the team right now is, man, I don't know. We beat Denver, but I don't know if we got it. Yeah. That's the mood for the Timberwolves right now. And that is a terrible mood when you're down 0-1 in a series. You're not down. You're not down 0-3. You're down 0-1. And the attitude coming out of that game was so defeated.
Tired. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. That's a great point. I'll say this too. They should be winning the battle of the big men, and they did not win the battle of the big men in the first game. And I'll get Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, man. Talk about guys who are overachieving. And Derek Lively story because he ended up plus 19 and plus minus.
Dude, he always has a good plus minus.
He does. He's a plus minus guy, isn't he? Yes. I'll give you a couple of stats real quick. He is, and I know you say that there are obviously some flaws in the plus minus, but how about this? In the Oklahoma City Thunder series, Dallas was plus 71 when Lively was on the court and minus 71 with him off it. If you go look at, he's just one of those guys. As a matter of fact, in the playoffs, period. If you go just look, this is prior to this game one. They were at plus 87 with Derek Lively on the court and minus 47 with him off the court.
And so they're
plus 19 in this game.
And that's again, and Gafford was minus 15 in this game. And it's a weird thing, but I think it's actually there's reasons to it, and this is why the plus minus is not definitive of a stat, is the way the Mavs play is they keep in Kyrie and Luka in more than a lot of other teams do. And so a lot of these guys start rotating their starters and start rotating bench players in. And Kyrie and Luka start to eat a lot in that next segment. In some of those segments where Lively is playing, it's Kyrie and Luka playing against bench players, and they're not playing against the best players. And so there is something to be said about, it's not necessarily all on Lively or Gafford, why it's so good and so bad. Because if you eye test Gafford, he is not a liability on a lot of these things.
No, exactly. I agree.
And he was getting his and he was doing things just fine. But if you just look at the stats, it just is when Lively comes into the game, he gives that burst of energy, and now everybody kind of feels it. So you don't want to put him in the starting lineup because then you're wasting the burst of energy.
When he gets in there, yeah.
So you want to have him off the bench. It's a weird piece of there. I feel it affects Gafford worse because his plus minus always is low.
It's
always
like
a negative,
that, yeah.
And if it's bad because you're like he's been a big piece for this team. But for some reason, it looks like he shouldn't be playing any minutes.
Yeah, if you just look at box score, you think that you got to watch the games. I'm with you on that too. But I'll say this about Lively, man. I love his game, though. I do. I love, and I'm with you on that. I think as a young guy, he has really overachieved for them and been great. Aside the plus minus side, he had 11 rebounds. 4 of those were offensive rebounds. He had 3 assists. He had 2 blocks. Remember the Derek Lively story is interesting because remember the Mavs were fined for tanking. And basically, isn't he basically the pick they basically ended up with?
No, it was worth it, and they should have tanked. I mean, like
it was,
it was worth it.
It was worth it.
No, and I remember when they drafted him, it was he fell to them, and it was one of those pieces where he does have holes in his game. He wasn't going to come in, but for a team like that, just what they needed. So he's one of those guys that a lot of teams weren't necessarily as high on him because he wasn't going to be an offensive threat that you could put down in the post and you could just feed him the ball and he would be able to go put up points. So you don't ever think he's going to be that full all-around player, but that's not what they needed. They needed rim protection, and it's really hard to get that in the regular season and trades and in free agency. So they were able to get a guy who's a good rim protector and can play above the rim, plays really well with Luka and Kyrie, who can get the ball up to him. And, it was just a really good draft pick, and then a great trade deadline picking up PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford.
Yeah, you're right about that. Derek Lively, third player in league history since 1970 to have record back-to-back double-doubles in the playoff games, to do it in back-to-back. The other two players were Charles Barkley and Robert Parrish.
It's good company.
To be the youngest players to do that. The youngest players in their franchise in league history to do it. Yeah, it's crazy. Because he had the game 6, he had 12 and 15, giving him that double-double. So he did in back-to-back games. And he was the youngest player in franchise history to record a double-double, and then ended up being the third player in league history to accomplish that feat in back-to-back playoff games. There you go. So he's done a lot for the Cavs. Also for the Mavs. Excuse me. We'll come back. We'll get into some Texas football conversation. We'll talk about returning starts on the offensive line in the SEC with the Longhorn stand. Also, the 5 stars have been released by 247 Sports. We'll talk about what players who are potential targets for Texas in that 2025 class, which one of those 5 stars could end up on the 40 acres. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Hey, I want to say about our friends at Texan Windows. They are your new and replacement window experts here in Central Texas. You can discover affordable windows and sliding glass doors. If you're looking to up your curb appeal, you want to get a look where you got your yard looking nice, it's time to get your windows looking nice. So you're looking out at your nice yard and people are looking in at your great windows. Check out Texan Windows. Whether you want to get a new color that fits your palette a little bit better, you want to change the operation of a window, maybe you have a window you've never used but is a operable window, you want to turn it into a picture window, then you can do that as well. Remove the grids, keep them up to date, get fresh looks in your windows. You can do all that, but it's not just for the looks.
Oh, not just for the looks. I'm a ball on the budget, so I appreciate any dollar I can save. And that's what new windows will do for you as well from Texan Windows. All their windows come with Argan Fill double pane low E glass. Well, just so you know, that's going to make sure your windows are energy efficient. In those hot Texas summers, which are fast approaching, by the way, they're going to be able to keep the cool air in, and you keep that warm and hot air out. You can do the same thing during those winter months. You can keep that warm air in, keep out that cold air. That's going to save you a lot of money on your energy bills, folks. Replacement windows can help with energy efficiency. No matter what windows you're talking about, replacement windows, new construction windows, thermal break, aluminum windows, glass and acrylic block windows, you name it, sliding patio doors, whatever you're talking about. We're talking about energy efficient windows that will save you tons of money throughout the year annually on your energy bills. And I'm also thinking about new windows because we got a bit of an older house because of the safety technology and the safety protocols. I got a 7-month-old in my house now, so I'm thinking about child-proofing all the windows. And some of these windows look pretty old. Don't know if I trust all right the child-proof technology on these windows. So you're thinking about safety, whether you're thinking about safety for your kids or for your family overall, that's also another great reason to check out Texan Windows.
Yes, and if you want to check out Texan Windows, you can get started at TexanWindows.com, 855-55 Texan. You get a hassle-free estimate by email or over the phone. Or you can just stop by their showroom in Buda that we were just at, or Fort Worth, and check out what they got in stock. Check out TexanWindows.com. Texan Windows, your Central Texas window experts.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some Texas football items. Go behind the burnt orange curtain here. A couple of things I want to bring up. 247 Sports. They have. Oh, first of all, shout out to athletic director Chris Del Conte. He actually won Athletic Director of the Year from Sports Business Journal. So shout out to him. Well deserved. He does a great job. I believe Texas this year, 15 conference championships out of the 21 varsity sports that they played in their farewell tour in the Big 12. That's a conference record as well as a Texas record. So he's been phenomenal. And you talk about the changing landscape of college sports right now. Seems like every damn day we got an update on some monumental change in the sport. And I think Longhorn fans know they're in good hands with CDC and Jay Hartzell behind the scenes and Kevin Eltife, the Holy Trinity behind the scenes. Those guys are doing a really good job. So congratulations to Chris Del Conte, Athletic Director of the Year by Sports Business Journal. Okay, so 247 Sports, they do their 5-star rankings. Their 5-star rankings are pretty simple. They believe the 5-star guys can be evaluated and projected to be NFL players, like even in high school. Like this guy's skill set, look, it's such a high level skill set. Basically, I'm projecting they're going to be an NFL player, even though they're in high school right now. And that's why they only give 32 of these 5-star grades for players around the country, because they believe 32 NFL teams will only give 32 grades. They almost kind of treat it like a draft, as my man Patrick brought up earlier. Okay, so out of the 32 5-star recruits graded out in the 2025 class by 247 Sports, first of all, some of these guys are already committed. Hell, Ohio State's got 3 of them. They got Devin Sanchez, cornerback out of North Shore and H-Town. They got Naeem Afford, who is a cornerback out of Alabama. Damn. And they got a quarterback, Tevian St. Clair, who's in the state of Ohio. USC's got 3 of them. They got Justice Terry, a D lineman out of Georgia. They got quarterback Julian Lewis out of Georgia. And they got an edge rusher out of Georgia, Isaiah Gibson. They put in some work in Georgia, by the way, USC is. And then there are other schools who just have one of these 5-star players. Georgia's got one. Florida State's got one. A&M's got one. They got a quarterback, Husan Longstreet. Good name for a quarterback. Come on, Husan Longstreet. Damn, sounds like he's going to be a star. Auburn's got one. Tennessee's got one. Ole Miss has got one. And LSU got Bryce Underwood, a quarterback out of Michigan. Now, the reason that this is, and we have some sound from Mike Roach here. We can get this ready, Patrick, the Mike Roach audio here. He was on with 247 on one of their live streams. And the reason that this is relevant to Texas, because Texas right now, look, they are not only one of the front runners, but some people would say they're even the leader in the clubhouse to acquire a couple of these receivers that are listed as 5-star recruits. Decorian Moore, who is, I believe, out of that Dallas area, DFW area. Decorian Moore, who is, I think, narrowed his choices down to Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. Khalil Lockett, by the way, he's also from Texas. Khalil Lockett is also from Texas. He's a wide receiver on this list. And then there's Jamie French. He's out of Florida, though, but he's also a wide receiver. So they're potentially Texas could get 3 5-star wide receivers in this 2025 class. Hard enough to get a 5-star. It's only like 32 of them. Hard enough to get multiple 5-stars because it's only 32 of them in one class, and hard enough to get multiple 5-stars at the same position in the same class, which Texas is attempting to do if they can get 2 out of 3 or maybe even 3 of these 5-star receivers in this one class. Here is Mike Roach talking about Decorian Moore, the receiver, the 5-star receiver out of the DFW area, and what Texas's chances are with Decorian Moore.
Mike, I do want to ask you about the in-state Longhorns. They have a lot of the buzz right now. What do you make of Texas and their chances to reel him in?
Each of these 3 schools have kind of had their moment in the sun. When I talked to somebody near Decorian in the early spring, it was like, hey, this is Oregon's race to lose at this point. And mid-spring it was Ohio State. This is kind of Texas's time. They've hosted him a couple of times on unofficial visits lately. He has a lot of family in the Austin area. His mother's originally from Austin, and a lot of teammates down there. Colin Simmons, the 5-star from Duncanville, who just signed last year, among them, a lot of friends. And I think Steve Sarkisian's shown, especially with the development they had this year with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, 3 receivers drafted, that offense is lethal when it comes to throwing the ball. Also, I think they're showing he can fit, he can develop, and he can stay at home and do it. That's always their strongest pitch is, to stay home and to be able to do it in state. And I think if you're looking at the long-term play, their best pitch they can make is what benefits do you have after football as a graduate in Texas if you want to live in Texas? I think that they have a strong network of graduates and among the state. And so I think that that's a big pitch they're going to be able to make as well.
All right, so that's what Mike Roach has to say about Texas' chances, good as any, to get at least one of those 5-star receivers. I look on this list of 5-star recruits, and Texas has 7 of them. The state of Texas has 7, and then Georgia, the state of Georgia, actually has 7 players on here too. 4 of the 7 Texas 5-stars listed here are from the DFW area, including Decorian Moore. One is from Houston, one is from the San Antonio area. 3 of the 7 from the Georgia area are from that Atlanta metro area. Remember, I told you those are the most fertile metro areas in the country for producing NFL draftable talent. Atlanta's number 1, far and away number 1, and then DFW's number 2, which is why Texas had won such a stronghold and a foothold in the DFW. And I told you, Georgia's overtaking California. California's got 1 player on this list of 5 stars, just 1. Georgia's got 7. It's Texas, Georgia, and Florida now, not Texas, California, and Florida like it used to be. And if you're saying that, then now California may be 4th or like that, but they are no longer a part of the big 3 in terms of the states that produce the most NFL talent and the best football players overall. Hell, Alabama, the state of Alabama has got more players on this list than California does of 5 stars. The state of Alabama's got 2 players on this list, and of course, like I said, Florida. It's Florida, Texas, and Georgia, and they're the most represented states on this list of 5-star recruits. Okay, there you go. So that's the latest in the 5 stars of the 2025 class. Texas trying to get multiple 5 stars in that class. Not only multiple 5 stars, multiple 5 stars at the same position, which is at wide receiver in that 2025 class. All right, I'll give you the offensive line just really quickly. Most returning snaps. Most returning percentage of returning snaps on the offensive line in the SEC, Texas. Leading the SEC in returning offensive line snaps, 83% of their offensive line snaps returned. Remember, Christian Jones drafted into the NFL. Kentucky is second, though, at 78%. Then LSU at 75%. You don't play them, no worries. Then Georgia at 74%. You do play them. And then A&M at 66%. So Texas will play 3 of the top 5 most experienced offensive lines in the country in SEC play this year. That's the bad news. Good news is you're considered the most experienced offensive line in the SEC this year. All right, we come back. We'll get into a little off the record on the other side, right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to a little off the record here. We'll be quick because I know we're up against it. So, Apple Music has released what they have said is the most streamed albums, best-selling albums of all time, based on Apple Music. That started. We'll just go through the top 10 here and start at number 10. And these are some surprises on this list. I guarantee it. Number 10 is Lemonade, Beyonce.
Okay.
You familiar?
I've never listened to it, but I know what it is.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I'm sure you know what it is. I want to know how many, because you're a musical enthusiast, so you listen to all types of music.
I am, but I don't listen to a lot of new stuff anymore. I'm very much I got you. I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of local bands, and so that's what I listen to new stuff in, and I don't necessarily listen to a bunch of other stuff that's not meant for me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I try to listen to new stuff as much as I can. Apple kind of helps me out with that.
Yeah.
So Lemonade, Beyonce, that's number 10. Nirvana, number 9. Nevermind.
Okay.
Nevermind, by Nirvana.
I see people wear the shirts around, so I guess people are trying to figure out what the shirts mean. And
could be. Amy Winehouse and Back to Black is number 8. She's got like a biopic coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Number 7 is Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
That album. Number 6 is Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life.
That's not surprising because Stevie Wonder is one of those things that's generational. That like on some college campus everywhere, there's a freshman finding Stevie Wonder,
and just being like, "This is amazing. Why are we not calling him the greatest of all time?"
Yeah, there's like 30 hits.
No. I always say this, and I believe it to be true. I think honestly, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to me is kind of like the Stevie Wonder of sports, where if you actually look at his resume, you'll be like, "Holy Chicago, this dude is amazing what he's accomplished." But they never get talked about when you talk about the GOATs in music or the GOATs in the NBA.
It's
Nobody
weird.
ever talks about Kareem when you talk about the GOATs. He never comes up.
Yeah, that's true.
It's great, and I think he, I don't know. I think he feels a certain kind of way about it. Anyway, number 5 on this list is Frank Ocean, Blonde. I gotta listen to that album. I gotta tell you,
that would be surprising. I would not expect that to be as high, but
yeah. You'll like this number 4, Purple Rain. Boom, came out.
Yeah.
In 1984.
We've already played a track off it.
Exactly. That I don't know how this is only number 4, but number 3, Abbey Road, the Beatles.
Okay, yeah, makes sense,
no doubt. Number 2, this is crazy. We were just talking about this year. Thriller, Michael Jackson.
Dude, 1984, I'm telling you.
Dude, it might end up being, they need to do a documentary about this. It might end up being the greatest year for music in history. Like, that's 2 in the top 4. They're saying best-selling albums, Apple of all time, are Purple Rain and Thriller came out in the same year. How the hell did they share that year? Like, because there are like 5 songs on Purple Rain that could have shot to the top of the charts. And there's got to be like 4 or 5 on Thriller that could have shot to the top of the chart. I don't know how they shared that year. It didn't seem like there's enough room pop culturally to be able to do that. Anyway, number 1 on the list, a little surprising, but it is a hell of an album. It's one of my favorites, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And it's one of the most decorated albums of all time.
Yeah.
So I forgot what it won at the Grammys, but it like cleaned up.
It's a really good album, yeah.
It is a really good album. They classify it as hip hop, but it's just fusion. It's not just hip hop.
Yeah.
Hip hop, R&B. There's some pop in there and some soul.
What did Nick Shelley say yesterday? There's no more genres. That's
exactly right.
Passe now.
That album was a prime example of it. Like, she just kind of fused a bunch of them together, and it was great. It's a great album. All right, there you go. So those are the top selling albums of all time based on Apple Music's research. Okay, we come back. We'll get into another monumental a transformation we can expect in college sports. So another monumental decision there. We'll also get into Cowboys OTA observations, and then we'll balance that out with some Texans conversation when we get into Rod's rant of the day. All of that and more when we continue right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babies here. Aside from the traffic, Austin is such a great city. That's why people keep moving here. Yes, they make the traffic even worse, but that's okay because as the city continues to thrive and the city continues to grow, so do my friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Now, many of the iconic landmarks you may be parked in front of right now in traffic or that you drive by every day, like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge, were also created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482. Right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people for another huge project they got happening right here in Central Texas. And for this big project, they need your help. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, even a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or maybe you just want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482, and you can take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So if you want to apply, just go online. It's pretty simple. Go online and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday on the Rodcast. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire, Patrick Davis, he usually comes up with all the musically themed days of the week, but on Thursdays, it's special because it's a new theme Thursday, and the theme for this Thursday is the year 1984. What's so special about 1984? Well, a lot of things, actually. 1984 may have been the greatest year for music, potentially, in the history of music, or at least one of the greatest years in the history of music.
There's a lot of good stuff on that year.
lot of good stuff. But the reason that my man Patrick has made New Theme Thursday 1984 really the tribute for New Theme Thursday is because that was the year he was born. That's also another reason it was a great year. And my man Patrick is going to celebrate his birthday coming up this weekend, and he's doing it for a great cause. What I love about it. I'll be out there, but give the folks some detail about the birthday celebration.
Yes, happening Saturday. Party kicks off at 2 at South Austin Beer Garden down there on Manchac. Or Menchaca, as it is now called.
Yeah. People come to Austin, that's how you know somebody just got here. They're like, so I think it's at Menchaca, and I'm like, oh, they got you.
Well, because they've changed it. It was spelled the other, and now they've changed it.
Was.
So all those businesses are now. I
used to live right there.
That was the best thing is there's a storage place on there called the Man Shack at Manchac. Now it's the Man Shack at Menchaca. It's just terrible, but that
is great. There's a Man Shack there. You're right. I can see it too.
It's a great place down there. They'll have it's a great sports bar that I go to a lot of times. It has all the TVs out there on the patio with the fans blowing the misters on you. It'll be a good time out there. Cold beer. But then we'll have outside. We'll have down on the stage. We'll have some tents set up out there. We'll have 3 bands playing, song swap to start, and then a couple other bands. Music starts at 3:30, then a raffle at 5 with a ton of great items. We're having a nice grill that's going to be out there, a big screen TV, lots of gift cards, some music lessons, all this really cool stuff that we've got some liquor packages that have been donated to us. So a lot of good stuff you can put there, and all the money from that goes to HAM, the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians. That helps get affordable health care to Austin musicians, which is a very big thing. To keep those guys that really keep Austin and the vibe of Austin great. They are able to keep them healthy and keep them out being able to play gigs. So it's very cool for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's free to come out. So we'll be partying, and then we'll be watching games afterwards. I'm sure we'll be sitting out there having some drinks once it cools down a little bit and we get down. It'll be a fun old time celebrating my 40th. But I want to do it with everybody. Let everybody come out. And hang out with everybody, and get some awesome bands like ADH Project. If you ever heard the intro music for the Sports Complex, that's the heebie-jeebies, which is ADH Project. It's the next evolution of that band.
Nice.
So I've known those guys for a long time. They're great. Michael Diller Band is awesome. Derek Davis, Trimbo. It's going to be a ton of fun that we'll have out there. So I hope you come join us and throw a few bucks in the raffle, buy some tickets, and maybe you'll win something cool.
All for a great cause too, man.
Yes.
HAM, that is a fantastic organization. Glad you're working with them, and it's gonna be great. I'll be out there hanging out, and I'm glad you're celebrating your birthday, but also doing it for a great cause. Come on out. It's family friendly too.
It's family friendly. Dogs
can't bring
can
the kids.
Yeah, no, exactly. You bring your kids out to it, right? I tried to make it as accessible to everybody as possible.
Patrick would have his dog out. I might bring my
Lou's
dog
gonna
out.
be there. Lou's gonna be there.
Lou's got to be there.
Well, it's his 10th birthday too, so we share a birthday.
Oh, y'all celebrate birthdays.
We celebrate the birthday together. I want to give you some of these other albums from 1984, Rod, that we're not gonna have time to get to. There's some of the albums I do not have time to get to. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. Metallica, Ride the Lightning. That was just Van Halen, 1984. Sade. Smooth Operator came out in 1984.
What? Smooth Operator was 1984?
That was 1984. Run DMC, their self-titled album.
Damn.
It's Like That was on that one. Sucker MCs was on that one. Run DMC. Madonna, Like a Virgin. UT, The Unforgettable Fire. The Smiths, The Replacements are all on that. REM's got a record. Wham's got a record. Tina Turner, Private Dancer came out then. Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense came out that year. New Edition had their record come out that year.
Oh,
the Pretenders.
So Turner, was that so? What's on that Tina Turner? Is that What's Love got to do with?
What's Love got to do with it? Yes.
Wow. Damn. I'm with you, man. I'll ask Nick Shuley when we have him on again. I'm gonna start asking all the music people I know who are music enthusiasts and music snobs. What do you think is the greatest year in music? And I'm gonna throw out 1984 on them because that's phenomenal. I'm sure there are some other ones.
Yeah, but you get your Footloose soundtrack that year as well.
Exactly.
Rat Out of the Cellar.
On money. Come on.
It is a great year for a lot of things. You can keep going down that list, and there is more and more great stuff.
Okay. I'm gonna say there should be a documentary. Somebody started working on that. I'm too lazy and not knowledgeable enough to do it. But I would watch it. I would definitely watch it. 1984. That is because the Thriller and the Purple Rain just kind of take it. I mean, I said that they got, the thing about it's got depth. It's all the way through it. Like you said, it's got the heavy hitters at the top, but even all through it, you just named like 4 or 5.
And that's to say,
Springsteen.
It's a great pop year. It's a great rock year. It's a great metal year. Like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica all had really good records.
All
that came out
genres seem to be thriving in 1984. Run DMC, you get a hip hop one. Like
Curtis Blow was that year. Houdini had a record out that year.
Dude, yeah. No, like I said, that could be, and like I said, I'm an 80s baby. That could be a case made for 1984. Great, one of the greatest years in music, no doubt about that. All right, thank you, Patrick, for that. We appreciate the effort you put in for the musically themed days of the week. Also, we got the Big Fat Poll today that is up. You can go check that out at the Horn ATX on the X account. The Big Fat Poll today: who is the best coach left in the NBA playoffs? And if you got a different take than the ones that are lifted, you can put that in the comments below. But Jason Kidd, Chris Finch, Joe Mazzulla, Rick Carlisle are the options there. And Rick Carlisle running away with this thing. 53% of the vote says
he is a NBA champion coach, so you're gonna get that
for the Mavs.
For the Mavs.
So
but he's also the only coach who's won an NBA championship.
Yes, I'm saying like, but our demo, they're probably a little bit slanted toward it anyway. Like, hey,
so stealing some votes from Jason Kidd there for the Mavs fans.
Yes, there you go. Splitting it a little bit. That's exactly what's going on. But yeah, so Rick Carlisle leading that vote in the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. All right, let's get updated, educated, and informed with all the top stories. Then we'll come back and tell you about another monumental decision that will change college sports forever. We'll get into that. Also, we'll give you some observations from OTAs, from the Dallas Cowboys OTAs coming up next. But first, let's let Patrick do us a service. Hit us up with the Horn headlines of the day.
All right, your Horn Lunch brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball struggles in MLB parks continued as they dropped their second game of the Big 12 tournament 8-7 to Cincinnati and were eliminated. Texas will now wait until Monday to see where they will end up in the regional round, with most projections having Texas as a 2 seed. In the NBA, the Mavericks stole home court advantage with a 108-105 win over the Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Kyrie Irving led the way early and finished with 30 points, and Luka Doncic came on in the second half to have 33 in the game. Game 2 will be on Friday. Tonight, the Pacers will try to even the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics after losing a close one on Tuesday. In Major League Baseball, the Astros lost the last game of their homestand to the Angels 2-1. They finished the 10-game run 7-3 and now have a day off before heading to Oakland. The Rangers dropped the second game of their series to the Phillies 11-4 and will try to salvage the series with a quick turnaround, playing a day game with pregame starting at 11:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. The latest in the forever seems like changing landscape of major college sports is that we now know that the Big 12 and the ACC have agreed and approved the settlements of the antitrust lawsuits against the NCAA, House versus the NCAA, most notably. Well, now the NCAA itself, the NCAA Board of Governors, has voted to accept the settlement with plaintiffs in the high-stakes House versus NCAA antitrust case. This is history in the making, folks. This is literally the NCAA once staunchly and vehemently opposed to players being paid in major college sports or college sports period. Now they're voting to pay the players because part of this settlement will be a new financial framework, a new business model for major college sports that will have a revenue sharing element to it. And them agreeing to this is saying they agree to share revenue with the players. I mean, this is an organization that agreed at one point, even if the money's not coming from them, that they didn't believe players or athletes should be compensated. That's why they were opposed to NIL, even though NIL, the money would not be coming directly from them. It would be coming from third-party collectives. It would be coming from directives. It wouldn't even be coming from the universities it wouldn't even be taken away from the NCAA's pile of money. They decided, nah, we are the only ones. We want to exploit them, and we don't want other folks actually getting in on that exploitation and then paying more money than we would for it too. So they were opposed to NIL, and they were opposed to EA Sports. Remember EA Sports? They at one point after the O'Bannon case, they told the NCAA, even if it's not profitable for us, We would love to still be in the business of making the college football game and giving the athletes, giving the football players each a piece of it. And that, of course, will hurt our profits. We may not even end up making a profit, but it's such a game-changing promotional marketing tool for us because generations of college football fans play this game and talk about it all year long, and they create their own dynasty leagues and all this kind of stuff. It's just worth it for us because it's the most talked about product we make. It may not be the most profitable once we end up cutting the players in on it, but it'll easily be the most talked about video game that we make, and especially in the sports realm. And the NCAA said, no, we don't think they should be compensated, even if it is not cutting into the profits that the NCAA makes. So now you have the NCAA itself, that entity, which was, like I said, vehemently opposed to any type of progress and refused to modernize their model, now saying, yeah, please don't unionize. Please don't sue us anymore. We will give you money, or we will share our revenue with you. It's mind blowing. But it is. Now they're on the right side of history for the first time in a long time. So congrats to the NCAA. I don't know how. I think they're still waiting on the rest of the conferences to vote on this. And I'm not sure about the Big Ten and the SEC if they need to or if they're all in on it initially. But it's happening pretty soon. I believe the SEC and the SEC board is going to meet Thursday to complete authorization. It says here from Ross Dellinger. So whenever that happens, I'm assuming that may be the last. I haven't heard about the Big Ten, so maybe the Big Ten is also, you're waiting on them. But once you get the power conferences and you get the NCAA approval, I believe that's most of it. I don't know what the group of 5 representatives need to do. I don't know exactly how those conferences, the rest of those group of 6 now conferences, how they need to vote on it to approve, but I don't know what their options would be if you get all the power conferences on board and the NCAA. I don't know what other option they would have. Like, what's their alternative?
Yeah.
They would just kind of be compelled to jump on board.
Yeah, so I feel like that's, it's dictated by who has the most money, and you kind of got to play ball with that, because I know if you want to share in all these TV deals and you want to be in a world where you're getting, the elevated value of college football, you have to understand, why the elevated value is there. And so find a way to work within it. But it's what everybody's doing in college football right now, which is trying to figure out how to make it work and make it work for yourself. That's where everybody has to figure out. And the more you're forward thinking and trying things out and pushing for change and the better off you'll be than if you sit and dig your heels in the sand and just push back, because then you'll end up like Oklahoma State or Clemson, where you just start slipping down because you're pushing back. You're pushing back, and you go, it's happening. It's happening no matter if you want it to or not. It's happening.
Exactly. You ain't got no choice in the matter, man. You might either you're gonna evolve or die. So choose evolution. And that's what's happening right now in major college sports. All right, so that's the latest with major college sports. Also, little college sports note, TNT. We didn't talk about this a lot, Patrick, but the latest, we did talk about TNT. Now they're losing out on the bidding for the NBA contract. So TNT, the NBA on TNT will no longer be a thing after 2025. They're moving on. But maybe now we know the reason TNT was not willing to go all in on that bidding for the NBA contract is because it's being reported that TNT have reached a 5-year agreement with ESPN to sub-license their college football playoff games.
Yes.
Or at least some of their college football playoff games from ESPN, beginning with the upcoming college football season. So TNT will present 2 first-round college football playoff games in 24 and 25 seasons. So maybe the money they spent there, they could have usually would help them win the bidding war for the NBA contract, and they chose, no, we want to be in the football business.
No, and I get the NBA one, they've had forever. I think they thought that maybe they would be able to not get ripped off by NBA. I don't want to say ripped off, but basically it's more than double. All reports are it's more than double what TNT paid in their last deal. It is more than doubled. And they go, well, we can't, that's not reasonable to more than double it with a partner you've had for 20 years. in the NBA to then just throw it on us. And, I like when many people can tell you that happens with rent now. And you can say it's not fair all day long, and it still
property
is.
taxes.
Yeah, property taxes. They just double all overnight and then say,
like, what the
too
hell?
bad, you're a loss. And people are willing to pay it. I think TNT maybe even tried to call their bluff a little bit and say, well, you're not going to get that amount of money. And NBC jumped all over it. And by the way, if you want to watch NBA, it's going to kill their ratings, but a ton of games are going to be on Peacock next year.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I got Peacock, so I'm not worried.
I'm not worried about it either, but it's another dumb thing that these leagues do where they put more and more games on streaming services, and you put games where people can see them. And I get not everybody has, TNT either, but the more you spread your stuff out, the more it hurts your league. Now, the NFL doesn't have to worry about it, but every other league does. But for college football, I think TNT understands the same concept. Okay, we know that if we lose the NBA, that's a big piece, but they were overcharging. We can get a better deal from ESPN because we're not bidding with the league. We're bidding with another television company who understands what we're doing versus a league who does not care about television. And ESPN understands that they have to have staff to do all of this and TV trucks and all of those other things. And we have those as well. So if we can take a little bit off their plate during the playoffs and pay them money to do it, they'd be much happier to do it. And college football playoffs are going to get better ratings than ESPN. And we already talked that, this is also now the playoffs are happening during the NFL. So ESPN is going to be having their coverage of the NFL happening while they're doing their coverage of the NCAA playoffs, the college football playoffs. I think that maybe they were worried about getting spread too thin at that period of time and, make a deal with TNT, spread it, you have an open plate now, go for it.
No, that's a good point, though. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I agree with you. And a story that's kind of going under the radar as relates to these broadcast networks and now them trying to get as much sports streaming as possible. The NFL they're going to go back to the table and renegotiate these TV deals before their contract is up. And the reason is because the value of the games has gone up because of freaking Netflix and them paying $150 million for 2 games on Christmas.
Yeah.
And now the NFL is like, hey, the value of our games is a little different because, these people are, and if those streaming platforms now, like in Amazon or hell, even Apple or somebody, people who do have, I'm talking about tons of money, like they got money. All right. They can spend it. They can overspend. And they can decide, what, we want more of the streaming games. And like you said, Patrick, fewer of the games available on traditional cable platforms and traditional broadcast networks. It's only going to get worse. Like they're only going to start putting more of that stuff on streaming platforms. Now they assume most of y'all got 2 or 3 of these anyway. Some of y'all got Netflix, some of y'all got Peacock, some of y'all got Apple, whatever. I got too many of them, honestly. I started this thing cord cutting, and then I ended up with all the damn cords and the apps. I ended up with all of them.
I know.
It was like I thought I was trying to cut cords. Yeah, I ended up with every damn app and the cord too. But no, you're right, man. The money, there's too much money in streaming now. The streaming platforms are so desperate for the sports content, they're overpaying for it, and it's really not a way for kind of traditional cable networks to keep up. It's just not.
No, and it's all trying to figure out that revenue, the ad revenue, and the way they sell ad revenue on streaming. It's all a weird thing, but I think TNT came out of this okay.
No, I think they won. I think it's good for TNT.
Well, I mean, you
got college football to replace.
You do,
or at least for a little bit.
But that's the thing it's just the college football playoffs, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's the playoffs. Yes.
So it's not a season long thing, but that also for them means that they, you don't have to have staff necessarily as much. So we got
the tournament still on there. They'll have the tournament on, and they'll have college football.
Yeah.
They probably need to try to find something else, and I wonder what else they'll try to dip their toe in. Maybe baseball of some kind.
Maybe baseball, maybe golf.
They'll jump back in because Turner's got a history with baseball from the Turner
from the
networks in Atlanta and that kind of stuff. So maybe baseball they'll dive back into. Everybody wants to be in the sports business. It's all about what you can afford at this point. It's like what can we afford?
Like when I was trying to find streaming services for TV, I ended up with YouTube TV because a lot of places didn't have Turner, or Turner was in a separate group. And it was like, I need that to be part of what everything is. And so that's, Turner has to stay relevant in that category of sports fans need Turner part of their packages so that they can negotiate those deals with streaming services as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. All right, let's get to some of the OTA observations for the Dallas Cowboys. All right. I know y'all don't necessarily like it, but man, Zeke right now he's either going to share the workload to be the top back with Rico Dowdle, or he's going to be the featured back for now. I think the Cowboys are hoping that once rosters are cut down, that they'll have more options at running back. But the report is that Zeke is being viewed as the leader of the running backs room, but is already beginning to look like a committee approach as he and Rico Dowdle split nearly all of the first team reps on Wednesday. Remember, Rico Dowdle has had one football season since high school. So we're talking about high school, college, and pro. He's had one season where he's had more than 150 touches. So he is, he's always been kind of a committee guy and ended up in a committee situation. Talented guy, but once again, they don't really have a bell cow running back or a featured running back. Zeke is not. I think Zeke has a place there, but the truth is, Zeke is one. If you look at just the overall ratings for running backs among, like, say, 72 running backs that have at least 100 carries in the last 2 years, Zeke is 58th, 69th, and 55th in missed tackles forced, explosive run rate, and yards after contact per attempt. He's actually pretty good in stuff rate, which is short yardage situations, and that's probably where the Cowboys need to focus his energy and that in pass protection. But no, you need to find solutions at running back. You need more weapons. You need more explosive elements in the backfield, and nothing against Rico Dowdle. I'm not sure if he's that guy either.
No, both of those guys are fine players. They're not the number one. They're not the guy that you put out on the field and it matters. No. And it's going to affect your game in a overly positive way. They both would be really good as a number two. They're both That's completely true. Fine as the number two, and the guy in a share in a stable, they're both really good at that. Rico Dowdle has improved and gotten himself into a place where you trust him being your number two. But to pretend like either one of these guys are your number one and a number two, or that two number twos gets close to equaling one number one, is malpractice. Now, I know they hope they're going to find one, but what are they probably going to find? A bunch of other twos. And they're going to have 78 twos on this roster. And none of it matters because no one can break out big runs, and no one is going to be able to get you that big first down when, it's 3rd and 1. And you just need to run the ball. Who's getting you that first down when they know it's coming? Zeke used to be better at that. He wasn't as great last year at that. Yep. He wasn't as great when you get into the red zone. Who's scoring you touchdowns? I think Rico Dowdle had 2 touchdowns last year. Who's getting you? Who's getting you that? When you get and you have a lead in the 4th quarter, what are you gonna do? Throw the ball 15 more times? You gonna put the hands and hope that there's not a problem, hope that there's not a sack, hope that there's not. I get that it's great, but you need that guy because the expectations are Super Bowl or bust. If this was just a team that wanted to get to the playoffs, that's fine. If you're just want to, but you have to have somebody at every position if you want to win a Super Bowl, and that's what they want to do. That's why I'm more critical of it. If they were not just trying to win a Super Bowl, but you go, well, we don't know how we can get over the hump. By the way, we're worse than we were a year ago. It doesn't work.
And not just worse, the argument can be made that the Cowboys have the weakest running back room in the NFL. If you're going to compete for a Super Bowl, that you can't have a position group on your team that is considered the weakest in the league.
Yeah, they needed another running back in that room a year ago for most of the season until Tony Pollard got healthy, and they didn't have one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I agree with you. I think a lot of Cowboys fans do too. Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, 2 of their offensive line draft picks in this last draft, they did not start on the offensive line. Chuma Edoga, and he's at left tackle, and Brock Hoffman started at center. Don't worry. I think Tyler Guyton, I know he'll be starting by week 1 for the Cowboys at left tackle, but also they want Cooper Beebe to play center, and he didn't play center in college, so his transition may take a little longer. And if he doesn't work out at center, he'll be a great guard for them. So he'll be in the rotation, or I think will be starting for the Cowboys by mid-season. They need a center, and he's their guy, I think, projected to be the center of the future for the Cowboys. The battle for the third wide receiver is between Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks. Both of those guys were targeted by Dak Prescott in first team duties during full team drills. Also, Cavante Turpin getting some run at the third team wide receiver. Remember, CeeDee Lamb is not at these voluntary OTAs. because they're voluntary, but he is not there. Most people believe because of a contract dispute with the Cowboys. He wants an extension. So Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Brooks, and Jalen Tolbert right now battling for that number 3 wide receiver position for the Cowboys. And how about this? And apparently Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert they've been buddy with Dak Prescott, following him around, been seen at different events with him, at different charity functions with him, because they want to siphon as much knowledge from Dak as they can, try to form as much of a bond, the chemistry, continuity as they can to try to be that wide receiver 3. Trey Lance, how about this? This comes from Patrick Walker. He says Trey Lance has had several well-placed throws and full team reps to open practice, including in traffic over the middle that only undrafted receiver Corey Crooms was in position to elevate and grab it. Lance looks far more comfortable in his process now. Even Dak said that Lance is actually trying to compete with him in the amount of reps that he's getting in practice, which means that implies he's getting more reps than Cooper Rush in practice.
Yeah.
So
we're at
sense.
OTAs. If we get to actual spring training and he's getting more reps, I think that's there, but it is a good sign that, he is not being hidden anymore, that he's not being put away, that he seems healthy and he's able to go work out and you're able to see what you have, because that's the biggest thing. You traded for him. You traded for a package that you didn't know what you really had, so you want to go out and see what it is.
Trade for a mystery package, huh?
It's a mystery
box.
You bought a car. You bought a car with no history on it. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. Is this a limit or not?
Seriously, taking a chance. Mike Zimmer has said several times that he's going to use 3 linebackers potentially. Damone Clark, Eric Kendricks, and Maurice LaFau were the ones taking first-team reps. Remember, DeMarvion Overshown has yet to be cleared medically, and he will. And when he is clear, a lot of people believe that he's going to end up cracking that top 3 linebacker group as well. How about this one? This comes from Patrick Walker as well. And also Nick Harris. Mozzie Smith, they say he looks to be hovering around the same weight that he ended the season at in 2023. He was off to the side with Osa Odigizua in street clothes as his upper body looked considerably slimmer than when he arrived a year ago. When asked about an ideal playing weight in 224 for Smith, head coach Mike McCarthy declined to comment. Remember, there's some people that believe that he was around 330 when he at his last year in college. And he lost weight his first year under Dan Quinn. And they don't know if that was the Cowboys instructing him to do so, or that was just him, going through issues, transitioning to the next level, maybe some off the field stuff. And hopefully this year he gets back to his ideal weight. And Zimmer said he's working with Mozzie to make sure he gets to whatever Mozzie's ideal weight is. They don't want to be forcing Mozzie to play at a weight he's uncomfortable at, because he's going to be a different type of player. All right, there you go. That's some Cowboys OTA news, notes, and nuggets. We come back. We'll get into Rod's rant. We'll talk about the Texans, what CJ Stroud can expect to see in year 2 compared to year 1. We'll break that down for you on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I want to get into some Texans conversation here because there is an inevitability that CJ Stroud and the Texans are going to have to deal with in year 2 compared to year 1. And it's actually a great compliment. It happens to a lot of the young prodigy quarterbacks in the NFL. I saw it happen to Joe Burrow, saw it happen to Patrick Mahomes, I saw it happen to Josh Allen. Early on in the careers for those young quarterbacks, you see a lot of teams that will play a lot of single high coverages versus them for different reasons. For the Texans, it's because the Texans are a very run heavy team because of the Bobby Slowick connection to the Shanahan offense. They want to run. And when you have a young quarterback, usually, the best way to transition them into the NFL is with a good running game. Right, to accompany a young quarterback with a good running game, so you don't overburden them. So when you have a really young quarterback, a lot of teams will challenge them, all right, to make throws into tight windows. In tight windows, you want to play man coverage because zone windows give usually bigger windows for quarterbacks to throw to. Man coverage is in a tight window, easier to process what's going on, but usually going to be a tight window. And with man coverage, usually there's pressure packages that accompany man coverage. Your blitzes, a lot of the times those come off of man coverage. So you'll challenge young quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, I remember Nick Saban did this to Quinn. Remember the first year, the second year for Sark. But when Alabama came to Texas 2 years ago, and before Quinn got hurt, remember Quinn was making all those beautiful throws down the field, just money throws, throwing out route to the opposite sideline, throwing deep out to the opposite sideline, connecting on some of those beautiful deep throws. Remember, hell, Xavier Worthy dropped one of those beautiful deep throws that should have been a touchdown in that game. It seems like Quinn was just in the zone. Well, because Nick Saban figured, if this young quarterback is as good as everybody says he is, I'm not going to make it easy for him. I'm going to see if he can make throws into tight windows and see if he can make the throws. So he played a lot of man. Let's see if he can make the throws. Let's see if he can make the throws in tight windows. If you're they always say if you're a decent quarterback, say you're throwing the football in the house, if you're a decent quarterback, you should be able to hit the door. You should be able to hit the front door. Just throwing the football in the house. You should be able to hit the front door. If you're a good quarterback, they always say if you're a great quarterback, a good quarterback, you should be able to hit the knob of the door. And Tom Brady was that accurate, right? He was that damn accurate. And the same thing, is true for quarterbacks at elite level. That we know he can throw to an open receiver. Let's see if he can throw a receiver open. And let's see if he can throw into a really tight window. So they did this with CJ last year. And CJ proved, he can throw into tight windows. Yeah, CJ can make those really contested catch throws, and he can put the ball in the right spot. Ball placement is not an issue for him. And one of the reasons that teams played a lot of single high coverage against the Texans was because the Texans, their skill position guys hadn't proven themselves. Tank Dell was still new there as a rookie. Nico Collins had his breakout year last year. So you also play a lot of man because I'm not afraid of your weapons. I'm not afraid of these guys. And so I play a lot of man coverage. That's single high. I end up playing an extra defender in the box because you're more of a run heavy team. And I'm playing man because I want to see if that quarterback can make that throw. That young QB can make the throw. And I got this stat from Field Vision that the Texans, CJ Stroud, he saw cover 3, which is another single high concept. He saw it 41% of the time. Teams played cover 3 against him. That allowed them to put an extra defender in the box against the Texans. That's why because Texans run the ball so much. Texans face loaded boxes on 77% of their running back runs. And that was the 6th highest rate in the NFL. Because they play, 21 personnel. They're a run heavy team, the Shanahan running scheme. So they have to run into a lot of loaded boxes, and their numbers into loaded boxes are terrible, by the way. Yards per carry, 3.3, that was 29th. The success rate was 29th. EPA per rush was also 29th. So they're not really good at running into those. That's why they got Joe Mixon, because they're running into a lot of loaded boxes because teams are playing single high coverages, putting an extra defender into the box against them. Well, they have to deal with that last year. They wanted to deal with it as much this year because now teams are scared of CJ Stroud. And now they're fearful of Stephon Diggs being added to the equation. Now they're fearful of Nico Collins, who now had a breakout campaign, and he's now one of the best receivers in the league. They're afraid of Tank Dell now because they know Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz and what he can do. So because of this, they're going to face a lot more light boxes. And this is what happened to Patrick Mahomes. It happened to Josh Allen. It happened to Joe Burrow. Once they have proven that they can make those throws and make teams pay for playing man-to-man against them, especially deep vertical routes downfield, teams start to put a shell coverage, an umbrella over the defense, playing more too high coverages. It happened to Patrick Mahomes, happened to Josh Allen, and happened to Joe Burrow. Patrick Mahomes, remember, guys, Patrick Mahomes last season, his average touchdown pass was in 2023. His average touchdown pass in 20 was 3.9 yards. It was in 2019. It was 17 yards, and they have castrated that Kansas City offense. They have taken the verticality out of it. All right. If you go look at the average, the A dot for Patrick Mahomes, 6.9 yards average depth of target in 2023. He's not throwing the football downfield anymore, because teams have backed their safeties up because they're so scared of Patrick Mahomes making those beautiful deep throws downfield after extending the play. That's why they got Xavier Worthy. Now they got Hollywood Brown, because they want to add the verticality to it. Right now, that's a short to intermediate passing offense. And when they had Tyreek Hill there, every team backed up on Patrick Mahomes, and they gave him the shorts underneath, and they wanted to test the patience of a young quarterback. Can you manage the game, and can you be patient and work your way down the field? Slowly but surely, with short intermediate passes, 8 to 12 play drives instead of getting that big chunk yardage play. And early on, remember, Patrick Mahomes struggled with it. He threw a lot of interceptions early on, struggling with that concept. And now he's figured out, hey, I'll take what the defense has given me instead of taking what I want. And now a lot of times Josh Allen turns the football over. He takes what he wants. He's throwing into that too high shell coverage and throwing interceptions. You want a quarterback that's going to be patient and mature enough to take what the defense is giving him. That'll be the test for CJ Stroud this year. Will he have the patience? Because teams are going to play too high shell coverages, because they're going to be scared as hell of Stephon Diggs, scared as hell of Tank Dell, and CJ Stroud throwing the football downfield, and scared of Nico Collins now. They got weapons. And they're going to say, all right, you know what? We're going to give them the running game numbers, and we're going to give CJ Stroud the short to intermediate, and we're going to take away any deep shots. We're going to take away all the haymakers and see if that young quarterback now can evolve his game, just like Mahomes did, hopefully just like Josh Allen will do, or continue to do, because he did a little bit of that, but not much, and how Joe Burrow has continued to do too. That's what they do with young prodigy quarterbacks. That's been the trend. That'll be the trend with CJ Stroud too. Guarantee you. All right. That's our Rod's rant of the day. We come back. We'll have Who Said That on the other side. Patrick Davis will play a clip of an audio clip from the sports world, maybe on the sports world. And based on the context clues, or based on the familiarity of the voice, you have to recall and identify who said that. We'll do that when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast here, wrapping things up on a Thursday show. Rod had to take off a couple minutes early, but we're going to get you down to Who Said That. It is a new theme Thursday, playing music that all came from the year 1984 is the theme of today. Let's get to another version of Who Said That, though. Who Said That, where we'll play you clips every day, and you get to guess who said that from the sports world or slightly around it. So let's see. Who said that?
Shaq don't realize that he still owe me $1,000. Shaquille O'Neal owes me $1,000. Robert Young's barbershop. He's coming in there. His daughter was 8. She was taller than me then. It was crazy. He comes in there. Ali, I bet you don't like all the songs on my album. I said, I bet I'm not.
What year is this?
This is the first album.
Wait, so this is when he put out?
Yes,
What's up,
with
Doc? Can we rock?
With the Fooshnickens.
Yeah.
That I say the Fooshnickens song was good. You were not.
Yeah.
So I buy the album. He said, you buy it, and I'm telling you, you don't like everything, give you $1,000. I bought it.
Yeah.
And I came back in that barbershop. I say, Robert Young, tell Shaquille O'Neal that he owes me $1,000. All of a sudden, he's never in the barbershop again.
Never came back.
Yo, I saw him in LA with Robert Powell. He was in thing, and we eating, and I brought him like, yo, you owe me $1,000. And he's like, Ali, going with the bullshit. in there smoking hookahs. I don't give a damn about that. You owe me $1,000.
I love that. He's like, you didn't listen to the whole thing. He's trying to find his way out of it. No, track 11 through 13 you loved.
Hey, man, I didn't love it. It's like, it was terrible.
It's Ali Sadiq and Dan Soder there talking about how Shaq owes Ali Sadiq $1,000 or $10,000 because $1,000 because he told him to buy the record, and if he didn't like it, he would pay him, and he has still not paid him, and that record is awful. That record is just awful, Shaq. You owe everybody who bought that record a little bit of money. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week on a Friday show. It's going to be a good one. Until then, we hope everybody be safe out there. We appreciate you listening. Remember to be safe, be kind, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. for more from the Rodcast here on the Horn.